Happy St. Patrick's Day to you on this fine Wednesday. And thanks to those of you paying attention on the live stream as you join us over on YouTube and on Twitch and on Facebook Live, on Periscope off of Twitter. And thanks to everybody for listening to the program, too, throughout the great state of Wisconsin, well beyond the borders. And we got a lot to get to today. The Packers trying to get themselves down under the cap before they get fined. And there is a rumor out there about the Packers acquiring a center. So we'll get into that coming up. Meanwhile, you got the Brewers and their MLB pipeline. Had a good conversation with Adam McCalvy. If you saw that, well, not me personally, but a good conversation with Adam McCalvy that was posted over on the MLB site and the Brewers site. So reposted that over on the Facebook fan page. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up. We're a day away from play-in games on the tournament today, and we got a lot of good stuff happening. A lot of good stuff happening today. And as we had mentioned yesterday, it seemed like it was going to be likely that the Bears were going to sign Andy Dalton. If it didn't happen, and you're here from two prominent sportscasters. One being Peter King and one being Michael Wilbon. Now, Michael Wilbon, he is from Chicago. So he's got that passionate, vested interest, and you're going to hear those reactions coming up here in just a little bit as well. But we start out with the Green Bay Packers. They are interested, according to the Boston Globe. According to the Boston Globe, the Packers are interested in the free agent center, David Andrews. Andrews started 12 games at center for the Patriots in 2020. He had been a consistent presence on New England's offensive line since he signed there as an undrafted free agent following the 2015 draft. And the Packers are in the market, obviously, after losing Corey Linsley to free agency. But Andrews missed 4 games due to injury in 2020, lost his entire 2019 season. Remember, he had a pulmonary embolism. But that is in the past. And he's got a clean bill of health. So a bit on the small side for a center, but as he's generated a relative athletic score of 7.06 at Georgia's Pro Day. In addition to being the nephew of the longtime player and coach Dan Reeves, Andrews sports a terrific mullet, as they say, which shouldn't be discounted in any free agent evaluation. However, it doesn't matter when you talk about the size. I like guys that are road graders. And if you ever listen to me, you know I do. I like guys that can push and beefy other people around. However, the Green Bay Packers aren't that type of an offensive line to begin with. They're a pass blocking line. And what you need is, you would assume, is a veteran center that understands blocking schemes and can pretty much overlook a defensive presence and be able to tell you which direction things are going and call out the blocking schemes, and then obviously gets help from Aaron Rodgers. So you're looking for a veteran in that sense. We all just assume that the Packers would be just sliding Elgton Jenkins over there. If you don't have to, and you pick up a veteran center, if you pick up a guy like David Andrews, then you don't have to go out and find additional depth for your offensive line. You're pretty solid. And once you get David Bakhtiari back, you're really solid. So you would, if indeed they go in this direction, they've already sent out the tender offer to Robert Tonyan. They brought back Aaron Jones. Funchess is coming back. You still have Equanimeous St. Brown. You still have, a guy like Devontae Adams. Obviously, I think they're going to give him a contract extension here at some point. You still have Equanimeous St. Brown, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. You would assume at some point maybe a guy like Lazard or somebody like that would come back. But for the most part, you're pretty much set. Now you may bring back a guy like Mercedes Lewis, or maybe Sternberger has impressed you enough that you can move forward with him. But regardless, you're pretty much set on the offense. Then it's throttle down, man. It's full steam ahead when it comes to going after defensive players. So maybe the Packers pushing the chips to the middle of the table with the offense, solidifying that side. That was one of the better scoring offenses in all of football. And then you go in the direction of the defense. So some encouraging news regarding the Green Bay Packers, but they've got to get down under the cap completely by today. Otherwise, you start paying for it. So Packers with a little bit of work to do, and we're going to try to figure that out as the day moves on. 877-867-1670. As you can tell, so here you go. If you're watching on the stream, okay, if you're watching on the stream, I am wearing the St. Patrick's Day green shirt today, and it says, "Kiss Me, I'm Irish," with the cross through it and the silhouetted shamrock behind it. But if you move up, as I move up, if you can see, it says, "Kiss Me, I'm Irish," but the Irish is crossed out, and now it says, "Vaccinated." Just a sign of the times in which we live. Kiss me, I'm vaccinated. How are we looking? Thought it was cool. I went ahead and got it. It arrived last week, as a matter of fact. So there you go. And thanks, everybody, paying attention over on the stream. Good morning to Cindy. Kinger, how are we looking? Jerry, how are we looking? Jared, how are we looking? And also Mark chiming in. How would you like to wake up today hearing the news that Andy Dalton is your new quarterback? It's great to be a Packers fan. I said this before. I think Andy Dalton early on in his career was extremely solid. And then as time went on and he got just inundated in that Bengals organization, he just wasn't that good. He just wasn't that guy that they wanted him to develop into. And quite frankly, he kind of fell by the wayside. You know, he needed a greener pasture. So then this past year, he ends up getting picked up by the Dallas Cowboys. So the Dallas Cowboys were, behind Dak Prescott, were awful. And then once he started to get it, okay, because remember, Dak goes down, and then they beat the Giants, but then they lose 4 straight. They lost to the Cardinals, the Redskins, the Washington football team, I should say, the Eagles, the Steelers, and then they started to kind of turn it around. They get a nice win over the Vikings on the road, by the way, in Minnesota. They lose back-to-back to Washington and the Ravens. But down the stretch, Andy Dalton, in his return to Cincinnati, lit them up and got a 30-7 win. He beat the 49ers. He beat the Eagles. And then the last game of the season that they really kind of needed to have, they faltered to the Giants 23-19, and they got beat. But down the stretch, Dalton started to play a little bit better, started to get a little more confidence, started to understand Mike McCarthy's system a little bit better, and therefore started to play better. So the question is, where is Andy Dalton in the echelon of quarterbacks? And I think, and I said this yesterday, he is kind of the Mendoza line. He's not elite. He's not way above average. He's an average quarterback. He's not below average. He's not Mitch Trubisky. He's not that guy. Remember, he did take Cincinnati to numerous playoffs, which, hasn't been done. Go back to the Boomer Esiason era, maybe, consistently. So he was better in Cincinnati early on in his career, and he had quite a few comeback wins as well. I mean, last-minute drives and such that he was able to pull off. But in Cincinnati, they never got over the hump. And then he had some injuries, and then players around him had injuries, and he just didn't have a supporting cast. I mean, when A.J. Green went down finally towards the end of his career in Cincinnati, when A.J. Green was constantly out and they were banking on that guy, that was the guy they were paying all the money to, and they were just kind of filling it in with just roster bodies after that. You kept losing your top guy. Their offensive line was depleted, and he was getting beat up, and things just never materialized for Andy Dalton. I'm not making excuses for him. I'm more like giving facts, but he just was not able to overcome that like an elite quarterback would be. So you put him down in Dallas. Suddenly things started getting a little bit better. They started getting a little healthier. The run game was a little more prevalent, and then he started to perform. He started to look okay. So I don't know what to make of Andy Dalton going to Chicago. But if you're waking up today as a Bears fan, you're probably thinking to yourself, yeah, I'm not thrilled about this. But if you put enough pieces around him, he has been able to take a team to the postseason. So now what you look at as far as Ryan Pace goes, their general manager, can you put enough pieces around Andy Dalton to make him successful? You start with the offensive line. You still have Allen Robinson. You got a decent, not great, but decent run game. You just got to work on the tight end position, and who knows? Maybe you'll be off and running before it's all said and done. at least to be more consistent as an offense, not as just absolutely positively terrible. The only problem is you still have Matt Nagy calling plays. Now, maybe Matt Nagy releases the hounds a little bit and allows Andy Dalton to be more of a quarterback than the game manager that he wanted Mitch Trubisky to be. But you know, we all know that Matt Nagy is always going to try to be the smartest guy in the room. Even though he did relinquish play calling last year, he still had his hand in it. Let's be honest. So, and yes, Kinger says, is Andy Dalton 0-6 in the playoffs? Yes, you are correct. And they had, you know, remember, they had some pretty good defensive teams. They should have beat Pittsburgh a few years back. Remember, Burfict ended up just headhunting the hell out of everybody, gets ejected from the game. They get numerous penalties. They had that game won. They should have won in the postseason, and it was the defense that peed it away because Dalton was able to actually move the football. So I think it's not a terrible move for Chicago, but it's not a great move either. It's not getting Russell Wilson. And the more you hear coming out of Seattle, they don't have an interest in trading Russell Wilson right now. At least not right now. I mean, you know, what are you going to trade for Russell Wilson? You're getting a Hall of Fame quarterback, and what are you going to give in return? The Bears just don't have a lot without completely depleting their team of assets. And they don't want to do that. So Andy Dalton wakes up and he is now a Chicago Bear. And Packers fans everywhere rejoice. Joe says, diehard Packer fan here from Tucson, Arizona. Joe, that's what I'm talking about. People are listening and watching from all over the country. Glad to have you on board today on this St. Patrick's Day. And if you are out and about today, take some pictures, send them to us, The Bill Michaels Show. The Bill Michaels Show over on Facebook, or you can just simply email me, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. Send us the pictures. We'll try to post some. If you're out and about today, you're imbibing a little bit, you're enjoying the bring your own shillelagh party or show us your shamrock party, whatever it happens to be, if you're out and about, send us some pictures, and we'll do what we can to kind of post them over on the Facebook fan page, just for those listening all around the country, not just the great state of Wisconsin, but all around the country, just to say hi and hello. So good stuff. When we come back, reaction to the signing of one Andy Dalton from Peter King, Sports Illustrated and the MMQB, and a Chicagoan, and that is Michael Wilbon of ESPN fame. Not happy about it. You're going to hear all of that coming up next to the Bill Michaels Show.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket, this is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes.
Check.
Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back, Bill Michaels Show. We continue on saying hi to a few people listening to us all throughout the great state. Jesse's in Madison says, can't go out, locked down. Madison's still not opening up. Frank listening to us in Viroqua. He is at the VFW Hall. Says, got a beer waiting for you when you come back out there. At the VFW Hall, I always enjoy that. Get a chance to go out there and hang out in Viroqua for a little bit. Ernie always takes me down there, so... VFW Hall, cheers. Cheers to you. Ethan in Marinette, Wisconsin said, just had a burger. Mickey Lou's, baby. Mickey Lou's. That's another good place. When you go to Marinette, Wisconsin, that's like a must go. Mickey Lou's and Colonel K's, the pasty place, got to go there as well. So they got some good stuff up in Marinette. People listening all over the great state. I love that. Love it. So Peter King, he was discussing the signing as Chicago fans wake up today, and Packers fans still waiting to find out what's going to happen as far as getting this team under the salary cap. Okay, that's where they're at right now. They've got until a little bit later today to get it done. It's like 4 or 5 hours, something like that. And they got to get under the salary cap completely. Today is the day of fining. You want to do it by Sunday, as that's when the legal tampering period gets underway. And then today is your start of the new, tomorrow is the start, tonight at midnight, I think, is the start of the new year, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, today is the day of the fiscal year for the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, that you have to get under the salary cap or down to it. Otherwise, you start actually paying fines in regards to that. So that's what today is. So Peter King of Sports Illustrated fame in the MMQB, he ends up talking a little bit about the signing of one Andy Dalton going to the Chicago Bears. Here's what he had to say.
Number one, I guess this means that all those people who thought that Russell Wilson was a lock to go to the Chicago Bears, and they had so many great things to trade, didn't they, Mike? The 20th pick in the draft. I mean, that is so valuable. Isn't that worth a Hall of Fame quarterback, the 20th pick in the draft? But anyway, so the first thing is Russell Wilson, now. Okay, but the second thing is that, you know, at some point, you've got to stop dreaming about who your quarterback is going to be. Washington stopped dreaming last night about 10 o'clock. And they said, okay, we're going to camp, and our quarterback is most likely going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick or Tyler Heineke, Tyler, whatever. They stopped dreaming last night about what might happen. The Chicago Bears today stopped dreaming and got into reality and said, we better get the best possible guy who we can to quarterback our team this year. So now they go to camp, probably with Foles and Andy Dalton, may the best man win. And I think the third thing to say is Andy Dalton did a good job with his opportunity in Dallas last year. It didn't show up in the one-loss column, but he played creditably for a team that at the time he went in the lineup was a bad team, and he made it better.
So there you go. That is from Peter King, and sarcastically saying, what do they have, that 20th round draft choice? Oh, that's great. Yeah, okay. So he's absolutely right. They didn't have anything really to go after Russell Wilson as far as draft choices go, and they weren't going to give up a lot of their big players. So then Michael Wilbon, who is from Chicago, thought this morning a little bit more about the Andy Dalton signing. Here's what he had to say.
I'm angry about the Bears. And I told you they were never getting Russ out of Seattle. I told you that. Because the GM isn't competent enough to do that. And they might not want to give him up anyway in Seattle. But let me just mention that Ryan Pace, the GM I'm about to attack, he chose Trubisky in the draft. He moved up to get him ahead of guys named Watson and Mahomes. Now he's choosing Dalton over Trubisky, who he drafted. Trubisky, who has a record of 29-21. For all the grief Trubisky takes as a starter, 29-21. 2 out of 3 years in the playoffs, 2 out of the last 3.
Yeah.
This is a disaster. And it doesn't mean that Dalton is the worst guy in the league. It doesn't mean that. But the Bears, this is a franchise that's 102 years old. And they've had like 4 quarterbacks you'd want in the entire century plus of business. And this guy, Ryan Pace, should be fired if this is all he can do. And his coach, Matt Nagy, because he didn't want to coach Trubisky, he wanted to pine away for his days as an assistant in Kansas City where he had Mahomes as a redshirt. He should be fired because he doesn't want to coach Trubisky. These guys, I've been telling you this for 3 or 4 years. They are a disaster. They have led to ruin the Chicago Bears. And the Bears aren't always great, but they're not this incompetent. This is awful.
There you go. That is from a Chicagoan in Michael Wilbon. And a lot of reaction coming out about the same regarding the Chicago Bears. So in the grand scheme of things, as Packers fans sit here and pine for a restructure of Aaron Rodgers' contract and much, much better circumstances and pushing the chips to the middle of the table down the road, you could have grown up 100 miles to the south. You could have grown up with somebody in your household that might have been a Bears fan. You could have grown up a Bears fan only to be kicked in the bag by that organization continuously and by what they have going on down there. Brett, you are correct. He says, I think Michael Wilbon is a little less than satisfied. You are correct. Not happy about the situation going on down there in Chicago. Look, I still think as much as we can laugh about that, and we can laugh about that. It's very quiet right now over in Minnesota. We know that the Detroit Lions have made some deals, and they're pretty much in their full-blown rebuild at this point. So while Minnesota is trying their best to kind of keep a few of their key players together and trying to change some interchangeable bits out, the Bears are trying to scramble for a quarterback. Jared Goff now takes the reins over in Detroit, and we'll see what he can do. But the Packers, still considered the cream of the crop in the NFC North, they wait for the next shoe to drop. What that shoe will be, we'll have to wait and see. But I guess if you're a Bears fan, you're simply not happy. You're simply not happy. Oh, man. I mean, they've got a quarterback. Again, not a great quarterback over in Minnesota, but in Minnesota, they appear to be more, going to the defensive side of the football and trying to rebuild what they had a few years ago to support the offense. I mean, they've still got a pretty viable offense. They just have to put a few pieces in place to protect their quarterback. And you still got Dalvin Cook. You still got a good set of wideouts. Kyle Rudolph, I think, is going to be a little bit of a loss, but then again, they weren't really using him that much. So how much do you lose? I mean, it's kind of like having a Corvette sitting in your garage, but if you only drive it every now and then, if somebody takes it away, do you really miss it? That's kind of what Kyle Rudolph was. He was a inside the red zone kind of guy, and they just never utilized him. So anyway, I thought it was rather funny. They're having a lot of angst down there in Chicago. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Dick is listening to us in beautiful Dayton, Ohio, as he says, home of the Flyers. I know it well. Go out and have yourself some Skyline chili today, Dick. I know they have it there. As a matter of fact, growing up, that was one of my first concerts. Was there in Dayton, Ohio, and we used to play Kettering Altar all the time up in Dayton, Ohio. So there you go. Jacob likes the dog cam saying howdy. There you go. And Ronald, you're absolutely right. He said Vikings seem to be loading up on defense. So there you go. How are we looking? 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Glad to have you on board today. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, I want to get your thoughts. I got something in regards to Aaron Rodgers, okay? And I found it to be an interesting article. And it talks about whether or not doing anything regarding Aaron Rodgers' contract would make sense. Because Aaron Jones, he's back. 4-year deal. You figure at some point here in the next few months, at the very least, or in maybe a shorter period of time, they give a contract extension to Devontae Adams. You would assume they restructure or give a contract extension to Zadarius Smith. So those guys would then be taken care of, and it probably frees up some additional cap space. But an Aaron Rodgers restructure, we all know, would loosen up a lot of money for the offseason. But the question then becomes, as you start to look at this, and this is a very good question in the article, it says, what if they didn't touch his contract this year? Would it set off alarms? And that's a great question. Because if they don't do anything, there could be a legitimate reason as to why. We all know, because you don't want to keep kicking that can down the road. But remember when Brian Gutekunst said that he had already talked to Aaron Rodgers about possibly this offseason restructuring his deal? He'd already kind of let that cat out of the bag, right? So that's already a thought, a legitimate thought. So what if they don't do it? What does that say? We want to discuss that when we come back. Hang in there. More of the Bill Michaels Show is next. Ready?
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
We are glad you are with us. Thanks, as always, for hanging out with us. So getting back into the discussion, and I know we have a lot of fun at the expense of the Chicago Bears. Okay? Someday they're going to get good again at some point, and then we have to take them serious. But for right now, I think you just kind of look to the south and you kind of go, boy, what a train wreck. But we talked about what if the Green Bay Packers don't do anything in regards to Aaron Rodgers' contract. Now, interesting article. It says Green Bay won't say it, and Gutekunst will continue to call him a young prospect or a young talent. But the fact is they took Jordan Love with the intention of being Rodgers' replacement. Complicating matters was last year. Rodgers put together an MVP season and looked as good as he ever has. Number 12, they thought was starting to decline, but it's just not happening. They have egg on their face now. They couldn't be more wrong. Rodgers' contract currently has him playing in Green Bay through the end of 2023, but there is an opt-out plan for 2022. Now, if they extend Rodgers or restructure his contract, it pushes more money to the back end of the deal. Almost assuredly, sending a message that he will be in Green Bay for a long time. And who could be mad about that, right? He's a league MVP. He's been to back-to-back NFC championship games. It would almost seem like a no-brainer to do this and free up cap space right now and push money back for another run in 2021. That's where the Jordan Love issue comes in. Restructuring Rodgers' contract would pretty much tell Jordan Love he's got serious doubt when it comes to his chances ever to lead the Green Bay Packers. And while fans would probably be okay with that, considering how good Rodgers is, it would make his selection even more puzzling in a draft full of receivers if they push back Jordan Love. So in essence, what they're doing is this. If you push back Aaron Rodgers' contract, you're admitting Jordan Love was a mistake. Or you made a mistake in assuming that Aaron Rodgers was on the decline. If you keep the contract the way it is, you're pretty much accelerating Aaron Rodgers out the door in favor of the guy you drafted, Jordan Love, because you don't want to show any egg on your face. It's kind of where it's at right now. If you want to keep Aaron Rodgers for the rest of his career, you go ahead right now and you restructure this deal. If you don't, then you have to say, okay, we're moving full steam ahead with Jordan Love. Rodgers is going to be the quarterback next year regardless. So the obvious, and you get it out of the way because he's not going anywhere, but what they opt to do with his contract this offseason could give us a sign of what the front office is thinking. If they choose not to restructure his deal or give him an extension, does Rodgers take that as another sign that Green Bay plans on moving on from him sooner rather than later? Does it make things awkward for him in the Packers' brain trust? Certainly should. Or does Green Bay work something out, assuring both sides he will be wearing the green and gold for many years to come, but putting serious doubt on Jordan Love ever taking starting snaps down the road? Assuming that deals are worked out with Zadarius Smith and Devontae Adams, the Rodgers decision looms large for Green Bay. Whatever is decided, it could give us a glimpse into what the Packers want to do with the future. Now, I'm going to ask you this. Knowing that, what do you do? We know that Zadarius Smith is working on a new contract. Many reports out there about him, and we knew this was coming. There's reports out there, I think it's Bleacher Report, I think Scott said. Eric says, what are the chances of Rodgers going from an MVP in 2020 to falling back some in 2021 and by 2022? Obviously that he's past his prime, or God forbid Rodgers gets injured and is never the same again. Well, that can happen to anybody. I don't think you ever play the what if he gets injured. The only thing you look at regarding what if he gets injured is your backup. So in a day and age in which Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, quarterbacks have blown the lid off of the 36, 37, 38-year-old cap that was on quarterbacks for so many years, and now they're playing into their 40s. What are your thoughts? What do you do? Aaron Rodgers wants to stay. He's always wanted to stay. Maybe he's pissed off right now over the Jordan Love signing or drafting, but he went out with a chip on his shoulder, and for whatever reason, whatever you want to say, I mean, God knows that Aaron Rodgers takes whatever inspiration he can find and uses it, and that's what's made him so great. Kudos to him. But, and he also wants to win, don't forget, but what do? What would you do? And I went through this yesterday. We went through all the Super Bowl teams that have won Super Bowls. And I'd say over 90% of those teams have a Hall of Fame quarterback. Now, we know Patrick Mahomes is well on his way. He's still a long way from entering the Hall of Fame, but a very young quarterback. But very, very good. And we would assume at some point he's going to end up there if he continues on this type of pace. But do you say Aaron Rodgers had 2 seasons that he was banged up? So in essence, he didn't get beat up for 2 years. He has been pretty durable throughout his career. Just because he's not Favre doesn't make him non-durable. And had Favre played in today's day and age, he wouldn't have played a lot because we all know the concussion thing. Then again, he might not have been taking so many headshots either, but Favre himself admitted that he had numerous concussions throughout his career. So what do? What would you do? 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Would you just say, you know what? We've got a limited amount of time. We've got a Hall of Fame quarterback. We're going for it. Restructure the deal. Maybe you turn around and you trade away Jordan Love. You show him off in the preseason. You look for a team that's looking for a young upstart quarterback, somebody that they can work with, and then you maybe trade him away after this season and start reinvesting in another quarterback. Or what would you do? Or do you just say, you know what? We're going to stay as is. Going to stay as is. And move forward. And if Aaron has a good year, great. If he doesn't, well, then we've got the ability to ship him off. Ronald said all of those other quarterbacks wanted to win and worked with the teams to put the talent around them to win. So is Rodgers that same type? It's a great question. Now, put it this way. Is the team holding off from restructuring his deal? Or is Rodgers the jumping off point? You know? Eight 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Give us a shout. 877-867-1670. Want to get your thoughts. Would you restructure or would you just hold pat and go from there? Give us a shout. We're going to go ahead and take your calls when we come back. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Will resume in 30 seconds.
Happily imbibe today. I'm not going to go out and drown myself in the green beer, if you will. I got some things that I have to take care of today. So I got a meeting today, and then another Zoom meeting later on this afternoon, this evening. Maybe I'll hoist one down in the wagon wheel downstairs later on today, but I think that might be the extent of it. So just so you know. But thanks for asking. Certainly appreciate it. Pro Football Focus, by the way, says the top 100 remaining free agents on the market. They have number 4, Richard Sherman, one of the best cornerbacks of his generation. Sherman's still playing the game at a high level, but his age and relative lack of scheme diversity will scare a lot of potential suitors off. He's fully recovered from the Achilles injury. Sherman's intelligence and tape study gives him a mental edge over most offenses. Sherman is a mercenary at the mercenary stage of his career, where he can sign a short-term deal with contenders until he decides to hang up his cleats, much like Darrelle Revis did when he signed many deals. A $12 million deal with the Patriots, a $20 million deal for 2015. The option was declined. He ended up going back to the Jets. Sherman already discussed how the 49ers have too many priority free agents, so he appears to be preparing to change scenery. 2 years, $28 million might not be a bad way to go. 18 million of that guaranteed, 14 of it fully guaranteed at signing for Richard Sherman's contract is what they're estimating. There's the offensive tackle Mitchell Schwartz, the cornerback Desmond King. The jury's still out exactly how good he is or could be going forward. Since coming into the NFL, he is still just about the best graded slot defender in football. That's Desmond King, by the way. You've got the cornerback, Adoree Jackson, former first-round pick, has elite coverage numbers. He ranks just behind a trio of Jair Alexander, Richard Sherman, and Stephon Gilmore among corners. You've got another center in Rodney Hudson, the wide receiver Antonio Brown still out there. Tackle Russell Okung. You got a lot of different highly rated guys. Malcolm Butler, the cornerback, still out there. The corner Troy Hill is still out there. So you still got some premium talent out there on the open market. As to whether or not the Packers actually delve into that market, we'll have to wait and see. But there's still comes quite a few pieces of talent that are out there. So what would you do? What would you do? Would you re-sign Rodgers, or would you just not re-sign him, but restructure him, or would you just not touch it and then still keep your plan in place? What it basically determines is this: if you decide to restructure Rodgers, you admit that you jumped the gun in picking Jordan Love. That's what it is. You drafted a quarterback when you could have gotten wide receivers. Patrick Queen was sitting there. You could have gotten additional defensive help. Numerous players were right there. Plus, you traded away a 4th-round draft choice. Do you just admit the Admit that the scenario, maybe Jordan Love does turn out to be a great pick, but admit the scenario just was not the right time. The timing was bad. You don't have to admit that the pick was bad, but maybe the timing of the pick was bad. Tim says, how would you feel if they traded Jordan Love next year and Rodgers plays 3 more years beyond that and Jordan goes out and he is still all that on another team? If the Packers are going all in with what they have, I don't have a problem with it. Because Jordan Love isn't going to be all that right away. So I don't have a problem with that. If you're sticking with a sure thing and a surefire Hall of Famer, how can you go wrong? Short of the Hall of Famer getting hurt, how can you go wrong with that? If you do your due diligence to put a good defense around him, it doesn't matter. We've seen this. You keep the intelligence of the good quarterback, and then you put a good defense around him. Didn't Peyton Manning win that way? Isn't that the way a Hall of Fame quarterback went to a championship and won it? Isn't that the way Tom Brady won it? Tom Brady didn't have a spectacular season, but they put a good defense around him. So if you have a knowledgeable, good leader quarterback under center and a good defense, you're going to have 3-4 more years of a legitimate shot at winning a Super Bowl. And then you move on. Eric says, we'll never know how good the pick of Love is or was until we see him play. But if you trade Rodgers, you best take his cap space and sign some very quality players around Love to help him out. You better put one hell of a defense in there if you think that you're going to walk in to a situation and win with him right away. And I'm here to tell you, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Deshaun Watson. He's not even Kyler Murray. He's none of those guys. There's this belief that if you take all that money and just buy a defense that you're going to suddenly win. You're going to win games, but you're not going to win a championship. Not with Jordan Love as your quarterback. Not right away, anyway. Maybe he develops into that in a couple of years. I mean, Kurt Warner was stocking store shelves and playing in the Arena League. So, the judge of talent is not always an exact science. So he can develop into anything. You got to have the right situation for him to do it. I don't know if this is it or not. But what I do know is a bird in the hand. You know what the sure thing is right now. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up if you want to chime in. Otherwise, find us on Twitter at Bill_Michaels. At Bill_Michaels. As long as it's not an extension for 12, I would do it. Well, it would be. You're going to basically push that back. Because you're going to get rid of the opt-out in 2022, and you're going to push that money down the road for at least another year or two. Tim says, why can't we let Rodgers play out that time and Jordan be a backup for the next couple of years? Because of the money. Because of the money involved. If I had to tell you right here, right now, and I said, look, Aaron Rodgers is going to eat up anywhere between 17 and 22% of the team's salary cap, and no quarterback in history has ever won making more than 13.9% of a team's total salary cap, won a Super Bowl, that's the problem. The money. It's all about the money. If Aaron Rodgers is making $20 million, this is an absolute no-brainer. You keep him around for 5 years. Do it right here, right now. It's the money. That's what makes this so difficult. It's great to say, I want to be the highest paid. Or it's great to say, we want to take care of our guy. We want to make him the highest paid quarterback or what have you in history. That's great. But once that bill comes due, then you realize it was great to keep him here. It was great to keep him under that umbrella. But now what do? Because you can't afford everything. You know, it's kind of like being house poor. You found the best house on the block. You went from 2,100 square feet to 5,000 square feet. It is an incredibly beautiful home in one of the best neighborhoods. By far the best house you could ever find. And you spend $550,000 on it when your budget is $550,000 and you're like, we can afford it. This is great. But then when you got to move into the house and you got to furnish it, you're going to the second chance stores. You're finding older, worn out, beat up furniture to put in there. And when you look at the house on the outside versus the house on the inside, you realize that the house on the inside, it's beautiful, but it's not nearly as nice as it could be. It's kind of the same thing. You bought the big house, you bought the big, beautiful house, the best house there is, but you can't afford to furnish it. You got to make a decision. One hour down, a lot more to go on this St. Patrick's Day. Go ahead, kiss me, I'm vaccinated. How we looking? More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
As the 9th-seeded Wisconsin men's Badger basketball team prepares for their matchup in the NCAA tournament against the 8th-seeded North Carolina Tar Heels Friday night, head coach Greg Gard was stressing it's not about what they've done this year, it's about playing well for 40 minutes.
You know, the one thing about the tournament, it really doesn't matter what you've done prior because it's only one game, so it's not a series. And that's the thing that makes this, why that sign, that the banner that's behind me, March Madness, because it's just the 40 minutes. So regardless of whether you come in on a roll, you come in with rhythm, high stakes, whatever that you've gone through before, it's still about the next 40 minutes, and that's really all that matters.
Tip-off is Friday at 6:30. To the ice, the Wisconsin men's hockey team would come up short in their bid for the Big Ten tournament title game, losing to Minnesota 6-4. Prior to the puck drop, though, Badgers head coach Tony Granato was named the Big Ten Coach of the Year, while Cole Caulfield, the sophomore, became the Big Ten Player of the Year, also the scoring champion. Now to Wisconsin women's hockey, the Badgers would cruise to a 3-0 victory over Providence College, booking their trip to the Frozen Four, their 13th since the year 2005.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Travis Shaw's second stint with the Milwaukee Brewers is looking promising. As the crew informed him, he was added to the 40-man roster, and he's set to compete at third base. Finally, to the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks are looking to make up ground on second-place Brooklyn and first-place Philadelphia as they take on the 76ers tonight in Philly for a 6 o'clock tip. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
How are we looking to one and all? Glad to have you with us. Thanks to those of you paying attention to us over on the live stream, getting a shot of Elmo, my dog, as he just kind of wakes up as I get a little bit loud during the program. So Zadarius Smith has restructured his deal. He had his $5 million roster bonus and $9.76 million of his base salary for 2021 converted into a signing bonus, and that creates $7.3 million in cap space. And that, I believe, is what puts them under the cap. I believe that's they because I think they were a couple of million over. I think that puts them under, but with the signing of Aaron Jones, maybe they're still right there. Because the cap numbers are a little bit funny. You don't know the exact number. The Packers do, but you don't know the exact number off the top of your head. So I don't know the exact specifics of his number, but it's close. It's close. Packers have to be under the salary cap by later today. So they have structured. Yes, they signed Aaron Jones. We're waiting on a contract extension for Devontae Adams. They redid the deal for David Bakhtiari. They redid the deal for Preston Smith. They did some jockeying with Adrian Amos, among others. I mean, so they've done quite a bit of penciling, but still the next domino to fall. Appears to be, anyway. Appears to be that they've got to get Aaron Rodgers. They got to get that deal done. Now, in creating $7 million worth of cap space, I believe that they might be a couple million or $1.5 million under the cap. If I'm reading this correctly, I think when they did all of this and in adjusting, because once they signed Aaron Jones, they were about $5.5 million over, if I'm just kind of doing the math right. And then restructuring Zadarius Smith, that would give them about $1.5 million to $2 million under the cap, at least for the time being. Now they obviously have the tender offers out there for Robert Tonyan. They have the offer out there for Shannon Sullivan. He's the other one. So they've got those offers out there. But look, they still need money for rookies, and they still need money for additional free agents. They still have other guys to adjust and or cut. So, and one of the other names now, I saw that if you make it a June 1st cut for Dean Lowry, which is still a possibility, you save almost $5 million. And then on top of that, if you restructure Aaron Rodgers, that can give you anywhere for almost $15 million. So, and the Packers like to have some money to throw around throughout the season. So the Packers still have some cutting to do and still have some restructuring to do. Just about everybody on this team in some way, shape, or form has done something. Now we wait and see if they do something with Aaron Rodgers. It's the $1 million question, literally. Yeah, you're correct there. Joe says, I read that they did not offer Boyle a contract. So, he becomes a free agent. So that means they still could bring him back. It's just whatever minimum salary they want to pay him. Lancaster pretty much on his way out. They did not tender him an offer. Dean Lowry would make sense to be a June 1st cut, by the way. But according to Gary, he says he thinks they're still $2 million over. They got to get underneath the cap today, otherwise they start paying on the overage, so to speak. So we'll see what else they have up their sleeve. But I still think this all hinges on Aaron Rodgers, on redoing his deal. And I would assume Russ Ball, Brian Gutekunst, Aaron Rodgers, agents, everybody's in Zoom conferences and calls, and numbers are going back and forth and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what culminates out of all of this. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670 to all of you listening on the Bill Michaels Network. Thanks so much. Got a couple here. This is Cassidy listening to us in Eau Claire out today. Having some St. Patrick's Day fun. Blake says just not the same this year. Decided to go to work instead. None of my friends are going out. And Blake, by the way, lives in Oshkosh. said none of the friends are going out. So I decided to work today instead of going out to the bars. I will take off a little bit early, go out and get me some Irish fare. Looking forward to the Reuben rolls. Okay, explain this to me. Aren't Reuben sandwiches? I thought Reubens were, the sauerkraut side of things were German. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or is that an Irish fare? I want to know because I had said that yesterday. Now, the corned beef and cabbage and such, isn't that, I mean, we can pretty much say that's an Irish fare. But is Reubens, is that Irish? Or because you always associate rye bread, sauerkraut and such more with the German heritage than you do with the Irish heritage. So aren't Reubens more of a German thing than an Irish thing? Or am I completely off base here? I need a research department for this is what I need. But I had some friends tell me yesterday that Reubens are German because the sauerkraut was added. Corned beef and cabbage are more the Irish thing. And then the corned beef and sauerkraut on rye is more of a German thing. Thus, the fish fries and the rye bread and the German potato pancakes and everything, because that was traditional coming out of Germany. So, look, it all tastes good. I don't care. But I'm just kind of asking out loud here because I'm getting mixed messages. Either way, come tomorrow if you're down in the Reuben rolls and you're down in the corned beef and the cabbage and everything, it'll be a gassy society by tomorrow. I think that's a given. So tomorrow when you're watching the play-in games in the NCAA tournament, you're probably doing some things that are even blowing out the dog. You know what I mean? Judge says, Judge Schmal's burner account, which I love, by the way. I always thought of Reuben rolls or Reubens being a New York deli kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Trying to find it out. Reuben rolls, you get those, though. I know like Moe's Irish Pub in Wauwatosa, Dublin Square out in La Crosse. Love that place. They got some mean rolls out there. I've had those before. Boy, if you don't let those things cool off, they'll burn your mouth. But Reuben rolls are kind of a favorite. But I saw, you're right. Kathy just says, didn't I see Stenny's Tavern in Milwaukee putting out these Reuben balls? And they did. They had them for St. Patrick's Day. They're putting out Reuben balls. It's like these balls of corned beef with sauerkraut over top, and they're kind of wrapped in cheese. And they look fantastic. But Rick says Reubens are indeed an American sandwich. All right. Well, then I'll stand corrected. Because my mother was Irish. I'm adopted. So my heritage is Italian. My mother her last name was Negli, and she was 100% Irish. And my dad was his heritage is German. So my mom would always make the sauerkraut out of the German side of the heritage. But I remember come St. Patrick's Day, Mom was making corned beef, these corned beef sandwiches, but they were like corned beef and butter but they didn't have sauerkraut on them. Dwayne says, by the way, Stenny's has the best Reuben rolls. He says, Amy and I love them. They are good. They are good. That's the kind of food down there. The Reuben rolls are good, but the wings will make you go crazy. That's the best wings I've ever had. And I'm not like a wing connoisseur, but that's just it. I'm not a huge wing fan, but those wings are just out of this world. And they're like Barry Bonds wings. Wings on steroids. They're just that good. Jason says the Reuben is actually a Jewish sandwich with a Western American twist. See, this is like history class, and I love it because we're learning something. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670 if you want to chime in. By the way, the Bears, they did try to trade desperately for Russell Wilson before signing Andy Dalton. And apparently what they offered, they were aggressive in the pursuit of the Seahawks quarterback. And they offered a trade package that included 3 first-round picks, 1 third-round pick, and 2 starters. Seattle interested, but ultimately head coach Pete Carroll's decision was to decline the offer. The names of the 2 starters were not specifically mentioned, but everybody was thinking Khalil Mack, and that was because the Seahawks desperately need a pass rusher, that he was one of them. And our girl Stacey Dales added that the Bears did everything in their power, and, quote, "we're unloading the chamber in an effort to pry Wilson away from the Pacific Northwest." So there you go. And there were 4 teams in which Russell Wilson was willing to waive his no-trade clause: the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Bears. He, by the way, Adam Schefter says from ESPN that he is not willing to say that the Wilson deal is dead until after the draft, despite Seattle's unwillingness to negotiate at this time. The friction between the Seahawks and Wilson reportedly began when the quarterback sought a little bit more input into personnel decisions, and the team gave the proposal little to no consideration at all. And the veteran had a respectable cast of skilled talent during his career, including Tyler Lockett, Doug Baldwin, Marshawn Lynch, DK Metcalf, and others, but at the expense of the offensive line. Minimal investment into the unit tasked with protecting Wilson has led to the frustration and just the raw sack static and the statistic that has been climbing. So there you go. There you have it. 877-867-1670. Who's where everything came from? It's all good. How are we looking? That's from Kevin. Kevin, I don't know what that means. Sometimes you get some tweets or things that come across and people forget to put like words into whatever it is they're typing, and it doesn't make sense. Just an FYI. So come back with me if you got something going on, and maybe we can figure out what it is you're trying to say. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to one and all. We are glad you are with us. Thanks so much. I can't wait for tomorrow. Got college basketball play-in games about ready to happen. I'm excited. More Brewers baseball. Looks like Lorenzo Cain is going to be back on Saturday night, and then they're going to give him the day off on Sunday, getting back in on Monday. And then we'll wait and see from there. So hopefully the plan is to get him as much time as they can prior to coming into opening day. And then possibly, or the hope is that he'll be with the big league club come opening day. I mean, otherwise, if he has to stay back for a week or so, I mean, get a little more work in and get his legs under him, that's fine. The Brewers are pretty deep in the outfield, but at least that's the plan for right now. So we'll wait and see. But he's got to get his at-bats. You know, he hasn't swung a bat in a year and a half, so to speak. So didn't get much as far as the offseason workout goes, other than through pitching machines and such. So they're trying to get Lorenzo Cain back. Good news on Manny Piña's injury. He was wanting to get in the lineup yesterday. They wouldn't let him. Craig Counsell told him, no, one more day, just take it easy. And he'll be back at it again today. So that's good news. So they have been pretty much, as far as your starters go and your mainline players, they've been pretty much injury-free. So that's been the best part of this. So some good news there on the front for the Milwaukee Brewers. Meanwhile, the Badgers, they continue to get ready for the game coming up on Friday as they get ready to take on North Carolina and their opponent. And kudos to the Badger women making it to the Frozen Four. Liking that coming up on Thursday. So I got a lot to be happy about. Right now, sporting-wise in the state of Wisconsin. Big one coming up tonight is the Bucks take on the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid been down for a while, and we'll see if that opens things up in the East for the Bucks to take advantage. The Bucks looking to continue to win. So hopefully the Bucks can. Big one, like I said, coming up tonight. And the Bucks back at it after getting that 133-122 win over the Wizards on Monday. But this is kind of a big contest tonight. Big one coming up tonight. The Bucks have now won 4 straight. And when you look at the Bucks, they have won 9 of their last 10. After they lost 5 straight, they have won 9 of their last 10. Drew Holiday is back. Things seem to be heading in the right direction. They're scoring about 130, 120-something points per game. Back to kind of where they were. I mean, their clunker was against the Nuggets when they only scored 97. So, but they dropped. It was a weird win against the Thunder, 98-95, but then 128, 139, 129, 105, and 97. Then they get 112, 134, 125, 133. So the Bucks continue to put some points up. And in addition to that, they've been winning basketball games, and they've been, not that they're doing it easily, but they've been looking a lot better. The Bucks sitting right now 2.5 games behind Philadelphia, a game and a half behind the Brooklyn Nets. Philadelphia 28-12, the Bucks 25-14. Brooklyn, who has won 5 straight, 9-1 in their last 10 ball games. Brooklyn looks to be the powerhouse to beat as they continue to load up, but they're 27-13, and that is the team that everybody's picking to win the East, and they very well may be right. If I had to look at this team right now to say what team is going to be representing the East in the NBA Finals, I'd probably say Brooklyn. But I'm certainly hoping that the Bucks can do it. But a big one coming up tonight against Philadelphia. So there you go. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. As I had mentioned a little bit earlier, the Green Bay Packers, apparently, according to the Boston Globe, reported as one of the teams in on the free agent center, David Andrews, coming out of the Patriots organization. Started 12 games last year for the Patriots before getting a little bit nicked up. The year before that, had an embolism, a pulmonary embolism. He's been cleared of that. Last year got beat up, but he's considered one of the better centers on the open market. So it's not Corey Linsley money, but they're looking at him too, trying to bolster the center position and their depth on offensive line. But again, as you're trying to get under the salary cap as of right now, it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like they're maybe a million or two over the cap. It just depends on where. I know Zadarius Smith restructured his deal, and then they signed Aaron Jones, and then they got tender offers out, and they've got all this different money going around. And I don't know what's been added to or taken away from some of these cap sites. So I don't know what the Packers have as of right now. As of just this minute, I don't know what the Packers cap situation is. And some are telling me they're 2 million under. Some are telling me that they're a couple million over. So as of right now, the Green Bay Packers, as of right now, according to Sport Track, they are 3.874 million under the cap. Under the cap. But according to over the cap, the Green Bay Packers, when you talk about cap space, when you talk about the cap space, the Green Bay Packers are listed. Well, I take that back. They just adjusted it. They are now 1.6 under the cap as it stands, because they were just listed as 2.2 over the cap. So they've adjusted. So they're 1.684 according to over the cap, under the cap. So apparently, through all these sites now, they're all saying the Packers are under the cap with the restructured final numbers of Zadarius Smith. But that's not even enough to sign your rookies out of the draft. You've got to be able to get a lot more money. Like I said, if you would cut loose Dean Lowry, probably about $5 million you're going to end up saving. Couple other adjustments, maybe Devontae Adams re-signs that extension, you save some money there. You could probably get down to about 14 million under the cap by the time it's all said and done. But the big number you're looking for is the 12 to 15 that you can save with Aaron Rodgers' number. And that would put you a good bit under the cap. But how much of that do you want to do as we continue to wait for the white paper smoke to come out of 1265 Lombardi? 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Brett says, do you have any tournament sleepers? Well, let me go through this again, because I want to pull it up. My tournament sleepers. That's a good question. I have a few that I've picked that would be, as far as under, not really like a 12-5 matchup there where you're going to get a 12 that's going to go all the way. Oklahoma State's a number 4 seed, but I've got them facing Illinois and Illinois winning. Put it this way, Ohio State's a 2 seed, Illinois is a 1 seed, Michigan is a 1 seed, and the Zags are a 1 seed. That's my final 4. Now, as far as getting some sleepers, Not really big ones. I mean, I got Georgetown in the 12-5 matchup beating Colorado, but then getting beat by Florida State after the fact. Maryland knocking off Connecticut, that would be a sleeper. But Maryland getting beat by Alabama right after that. Villanova beating Winthrop. Maybe Villanova over Purdue, but Villanova's a 5 and Purdue's a 4, so it's not that big of a sleeper, not that big of an upset. Arkansas, the 3 seed, beating Colgate to face Texas Tech, and then Arkansas advancing. Florida, the 7 seed, getting beat by Ohio State. Not really. I mean, Tennessee winning in the 12-5 matchup. Oklahoma State. I pretty much went with a lot of the favorites, except for Syracuse. Syracuse, I have them knocking off San Diego State in the 11-6 matchup, but then they lose to West Virginia, but West Virginia ends up losing to Houston. So, no, I kind of stayed. I didn't really go out that far on a limb. I stayed with a lot of chalk. You know? I stayed with a lot of that. 877-867-1670. I just can't wait for the tournament to get underway. And you know what? I'm sitting here looking at this right now, Brett, and I know that one of these teams that maybe I just even mentioned, one of these teams is going to advance. Villanova, without their leading scorer, maybe Winthrop beats them. Maybe they advance, but then maybe they get knocked out by Purdue. You know? I don't think North Texas takes Purdue out of the mix. Utah State, do they knock off Texas Tech and maybe go on a little bit of a run and take over Arkansas? I think Illinois has probably, out of the Midwest, probably has the easiest bracket to go. I think their biggest test is going to be Loyola Chicago. I think they're a really good basketball team. Maybe the biggest upset could possibly be Morehead State over West Virginia. Like I've said before, Bob Huggins' teams get to the tournament and then step on themselves. It's just been tradition. It's like the sun rising and St. Patrick's Day coming around every year. You know it's going to happen. You know? So that's my pool. There's nothing shocking there. We'll see. And then I've got Gonzaga winning it all. I've got them facing Ohio State in the finals. I've got a rematch of the Big Ten championship between Ohio State and Illinois, and Ohio State winning it this time rather than Illinois. That's the only difference. Other than that, not a whole lot there. Not a whole lot there. Christy says, walking through Home Goods right now, plan on drinking a little bit later on today here in Green Bay. Christy listening to the show in Home Goods? Really? All right. Well, good for you. You got us one on your phone, I would assume, unless I don't think they have us on up there yet. Oops, yet? Let that slip. I don't know. But if you're in Home Goods, crank it up. Let everybody hear it. You know, Home Goods is kind of cool, too, because they have all that furniture. I'd go sit in that furniture section where they have the furniture and then all the rugs next to it. Make yourself a little area, you know? Walk over to that aisle that has all that really cool glassware. Make yourself a cocktail. Maybe you brought something in your big giant purse. Make yourself a cocktail. Sit down on some of that furniture. Kick your feet back. Put on maybe just a green hat. Call it a St. Patrick's Day, like a celebration, right then and there. A flash celebration of St. Patrick's Day. You're good to go. I like it. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show. Yeah, we had a little mishap with the camera. For those of you watching on the live stream. Thought, no big deal. The dogs, we went to dog cam during the commercial break, so you get a chance. There was Mickey and Elmo were both laying on the floor. And I left the studio for a couple of minutes, and the dogs followed. Well, when I came back, I thought, I'll be real cool. Make it look like I'm walking right over the camera, you know. Elmo's following me. And, well, I tripped over the camera. So, for those of you watching, you probably saw it. And then after that, Elmo laid down in front of it. So you get a little bit of a glimpse of the dogs, but nevertheless. Hey, thanks for following us, by the way, so much. Thanks for subscribing. The YouTube channel has grown exponentially, and I can't say thank you enough to those who actually pay attention and give a damn enough to subscribe. So thank you. You can follow on YouTube. You can follow on Twitch TV. Just simply go to Bill Michaels, find Bill Michaels, Michaels, on either one. If you follow us over on the Facebook fan page, it's simply The Bill Michaels Show on Facebook, and Twitter @Bill_Michaels. So thanks so much. Hey, Dave in Rice Lake didn't tell me where he's out and about, but said out partying, and partying is spelled PARRRRTTTTYYYING. So, I mean, he's out having fun. Sam in Sheboygan. Sam heading over to the Old Horse and Plow. That's right there at Kohler. Beautiful place. Good Irish place. They got Reuben rolls there. Yeah, boy. And Joe listening to us in Milwaukee says, can't wait to have you back on the air again here. Listening to you on the stream, heading over to County Clare. Is it really that good? It is. You talk about a traditional Irish place. Now, I don't know if County Clare is doing the same thing that they've done in the past. Usually, they bring in the Trinity Irish dancers in a tent out back. And usually it's the young kids. And it's really cool when you see the teenagers that are 14, 15, 16, and then you see the really young kids that get a chance to do it, and they all do the tap, and it's just, the Irish dancers are just so cool. But I don't know if they're doing that. But County Clare is a terrific Irish bar on the east side of Milwaukee. So if you're out and about today and you're paying attention to us, by all means, you can head over there and enjoy yourself, and then let me know. Let me know if they've got the Irish dancers over there. So it's been a while, probably a couple of years since I've been there on St. Patrick's Day because of COVID. Obviously, COVID sucks. I'm just ready to be done with it. Just damn. And I think many of you are as well. So we're all in the same boat together. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Brett says, other than the Girl Scout cookies, what is the tournament menu? The tournament menu starting tomorrow night. Okay, tomorrow night is this. I have 2-inch thick cut pork chops ready to go. Those are going to go on the grill. I might even smoke them tomorrow. Okay, but I do the air fryer for boneless chicken wings, or like chicken type nuggets. Tyson makes these air fried chicken type nuggets, and I usually throw them in the air fryer. And then I toss them in buffalo sauce, the original Moore's buffalo sauce from Buffalo. And then you bake them. You bake them for about 15 minutes in the oven. So you air fry them for, I think it's like 9 minutes or 7 minutes or something. Then you bake them in the oven after you toss them. Once you toss them in the buffalo sauce, put them in the oven, and then you put your pork chop that's been properly seasoned, and you have a salad. And then you have about 8 of those nuggets, and you have yourself a fine frosty beverage. Oh, throw the Bud Light in there, and you are good to go. Unless, of course, you get crazy and do the bourbon thing. But the bourbon thing is usually when you're down in the bar and you're smoking a cigar, and I'm doing that. So there you go. That's what's on the menu. Now, as far as the rest of the weekend goes, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finalizing the grill, if you will. I got to finish cleaning it. It needs to be pulled apart a little bit, clean up the grill a little bit. 877-867-1670. Phil says Dalton is an upgrade in Chicago. He will take a few deep chances down the field, which is what the Bears offense really struggled with last year. However, you lose a ton of mobility that Mitch can bring to the table, extending plays, and Andy cannot. Overall, if you can get more offensive line help, the Bears will be improved. But if no offensive line help comes available, the Bears are in big trouble yet again. 100% agree with you, Phil. 100% agree with you. The Bears' offensive line has been the area of contentiousness. They have not been consistent. Just go back a ways. Even when Long was healthy, he wasn't healthy all the time. They've had numerous players in and out, draft choices that haven't panned out. So You're right. They need additional offensive lineup. They've got some decent weapons, but unless they have enough of a line to create a run game that can then really kind of accentuate the passing game, yeah, they're not going to do a whole lot. So we'll wait and see. Chris says to use a rabbit in the basement or a smoke eater for your cigars. You know what I'll do is I need to do a live cast. And I haven't done one in a while, and I really apologize for that. But we're going to do a lot of specialty casts coming up, and they're going to be really cool. Starting next week. Next week, we're going to be doing one with Dirk DeBink. Dirk is the president of Fisher House, Wisconsin. So we're going to do a special one for veterans and their families next week. And then we're going to do one, hopefully, down at the Harley Museum. And I've got a couple other really cool ones in store. We're going to go into Milwaukee Brewing and the Craft Brewery down in downtown Milwaukee. We're going to go there. But I have not done one downstairs in a while. I don't use either. To be honest with you, Chris, I have one of those old-fashioned, like Grandma had in her kitchen, the old pull chain fan. Now my fan's hooked up to a switch, but remember when Grandma years and years and years and years ago had those old pull chain vent fans? You just pulled the chain, because if you didn't have a vent hood, you had a vent fan at Grandma's house. And that vent fan, when that thing started going, if you weren't careful, that suck your hair up. It pulls spaghetti right out of the pot. So that is what I have down in my bar. And when I turn that on, and I've got two fans in each corner that kind of blow the air to the middle of the room, and you don't have one bit of cigar smoke down there. I mean, you don't even know you've ever smoked a cigar in this house. So I've had that, and it works perfectly. So, but thanks for asking. Good stuff. Dave listening to us, he says we are in where is that? Marshfield. David Marshfield says, at what point do we expect Aaron Rodgers to announce that he has restructured his deal? Well, Aaron Rodgers probably won't. The Packers probably would, but once they file it with the Players Association, that's when you find out. So I seem to think that it's going to happen sooner rather than later. I could be wrong, but I think in the next few days, you probably are looking at this going, yeah, if you're going to delve into free agency at all, unless, of course, you're waiting for something later in free agency, which again, you're going back towards the bargain basement, or maybe you're waiting for the June 1st cuts for the veterans, which is a possibility and might not be a bad strategy. But if there's somebody out there that you really, really covet right now, I mean, look at the Patriots. Now, the Patriots had a bunch of money to spend, but $137.5 million, the most guaranteed money spent in free agency in history. Miami was the team that set the bar last year. They spent $147.2 million in free agency. But every year it gets bigger, but the Patriots, they're right there, man. The Patriots are spending all kinds of money, but they had cap space. Packers don't have cap space. Packers are trying to get it done on a shoestring budget right now. And they're not far. It's not like they're a terrible football team looking to add 20 pieces. You only need to add one or two. And then at least hypothetically, you should be right there. 877-867-1670. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show on this St. Patty's Day. Kiss me, I've been vaccinated. More coming up after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
There you go. Here's something for you. Welcome back to the Bill Michaels Show. So the Cincinnati Bengals, A.J. Green, after the Bengals and Green parted ways, apparently, according to Evan Massey, the Green Bay Packers have been in touch with Green's agent. This would be a great landing spot for Green if it comes to pass, as Green Bay should once again be among the NFL's top Super Bowl contenders for next season. He's obviously not going to get a big deal with whoever he signs with after regressing so much over the past few years. They say we should expect to see Green to sign a minimal deal with a team like the Packers, who could use some more firepower next to the star wide receiver Davante Adams, who would also and obviously be the primary focus of opposing defenses. That comes from Evan Massey, and Evan Massey featured in Forbes and ESPN and Yahoo, and an NFL analyst as well. So he is saying that the Packers have had interest in A.J. Green. A.J. Green, and I've said this before, look, if you can get him for a minimum, that might not be a bad way to go. To take a stab in the dark at him. But he comes with a lot of baggage, and all that baggage is injury baggage. A lot of baggage, because he has been so banged up in his career, it hasn't been funny. His most famous play is the catch and flip into the end zone. He was a tremendous, tremendous wide receiver, but he has not been the same in the last, 3 to 5 years? He has been banged up every year. And like I said before, they were banking on him for a long time in Cincinnati to really pan out. To finally, it was just like, this guy's hurt all the time. We can't keep him around. Got a couple of things. Jerry says, you're going to be back at Turtleback this year in Rice Lake. It was extremely awesome and hilarious when Larry the Cable Guy joined you. You guys didn't break for commercials because he was on a roll. As of right now, the answer, Jerry, is yes. middle of June. I think it's the June 15th, 16th, or 17th, or something like that. Let's see here. It's June 16th and 17th. I am scheduled as of right now to be in Rice Lake at Turtleback. So I don't know if Larry's going to be there, but we are scheduled to be back. It's the Rice Lake Celebrity Golf Outing is scheduled to be back this year. So yes, if indeed we have it, and Larry's going to be there, we will definitely be there. We'll definitely be there. Noda says AJ's always hurt, but he's had time to recover. So we'll see. What about Des Bryant? No. Des Bryant's been out of the league how long? Hasn't been relevant in how long? I mean, AJ Green's been banged up, but at least he's been with a team. You know? 877-867-1670. But that word leaking out. Then we get to the news for, as we had heard before from Field Yates of ESPN, the Packers have opened up more than $7 million in cap space by tweaking the contract for Zadarius Smith. Reports of $9.76 million of the base salary for the 21 season and his entire $5 million roster bonus converted into a signing bonus. And the move then creates $7.38 million in cap space for the Packers. It also pushes Smith's cap hit for 2022 above $28 million, which makes him an extension candidate if the Packers have him in their plans beyond this season. There's a good chance the Packers do have him in their plans. He's got 26 sacks over his last 2 seasons in Green Bay, and he was named second-team All-Pro for the 2020 season. So there you go. Eric says, bring A.J. Green in with a minimum deal with some bonuses put in there. Maybe pretty good way to go and draft another wide receiver or a number two in the draft for the future. So Eric says $7 million freed up, but a $22 million cap hit is bad. Yeah, that's you're not keeping him past the season. If you don't have a plan on him being in your future, most likely you're going to give him a contract extension, and then you're going to convert a lot of that money to signing bonus down the road. So there you go. 877-867-1670. A lot of doings going on right now throughout the NFL. Oh, that's right. It was Jerome. Jerome Simpson was the wide receiver that flipped into the end zone. You are correct. I completely forgot about that. I always associate that with AJ Green. That is completely my bad. Completely my bad. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that. I forget that all the time. And Jerome Simpson, that was pretty much his only famous move. That was it. Our buddy Steve writes in the email inbox, I have a few ex-coworkers that are huge Bear fans, and they couldn't be more pissed off and in disbelief at the signing of Andy Dalton. They were all of the mindset that they would have rather kept Trubisky than pay Andy Dalton $10 million. I almost feel sorry for the Bears fans. Well, maybe not. As far as the Packers are concerned, it's good to hear that they are now under the cap looking at the remaining free agents other than Patrick Peterson, who I think would get overpaid. There is nobody that really trips the trigger. For the draft, the first 5 picks in the first 4 rounds should be focused on linebacker, corner, defensive tackle, offensive center, and wide receiver. There's a couple of intriguing receivers, Rondell Moore and Philor. I think that's how you pronounce it, or Philyor. They are smaller and fast, like a Tariq Hill mold, and both good returners. In my mind, true slot is what the offense is lacking. As far as corned beef is concerned, we make ours in an Instapot. It's crazy good, extremely tender, blows away the slow cooker. That's cheers from Stephen Richfield. I got a Ninja air fryer. I don't have the Instapot. I got the Ninja air fryer. I don't think you can make that in that. I have the new slow cooker from Crock-Pot, though. And I think that might be one of the, quote, Instapot type of things. Might have to look into that. 877-867-1670. 1670. Coming up, we're going to continue to be all over this as more money continues to be doled out on the NFL free agent market. We're going to continue to kind of scour to find out who is and isn't in when you talk about players that are being signed or deals being done or contracts being restructured. You got the Badgers that are getting ready for the game against North Carolina coming up. We'll talk a little bit about that. We might even hear some from Greg Gard. Again, I got people that are asking for the reaction of Michael Wilbon as a longtime Bears fan to the signing of Andy Dalton. Yes, we'll replay it for you. We'll get that out there for you. No doubt. No doubt. And there is the rumor floating around out there that possibly the Packers could go after A.J. Green, the often injured but very talented wide receiver who has been ostracized from the Bengals community. So there you go. Stay tuned. A lot more of the Bill Michaels Show is right around the corner.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Bucks have won 4 straight games. That's after a 133-122 win over Washington last night. Giannis Antetokounmpo also became the first player in franchise history to post a triple-double in 3 straight games. 2-time MVP joked afterwards that despite a matchup with Philly looming tomorrow, he was going to enjoy his day off today by eating pizza, chicken wings, and a smoothie before focusing in on the Sixers.
You know, they have a great, unbelievable season. I think it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one in Philly. They play really well at home. And we just got to be ready. We got to be ready. We got to execute our game plan, play great defense. Hopefully we can make some shots. No matter the outcome, just leave Philly better. Just try to end the road trip in a good note. Not winning, playing good basketball. Remember that.
Bucks are 25-14, 2 games back of Philly in the standings in the Eastern Conference. Turning to the Badgers, they practiced for the first time yesterday down in Indy as they prepare for Friday's first-round game against North Carolina. Wisconsin has won at least 1 game in 15 of their last 21 appearances in the NCAA tournament, though the Tar Heels are favored in the game. Tip is set for 6:10.
Hey, honey, how was your day? Well, I brought home a delicious dinner and possibly $10K. That's $10,000. That's a good day. It's Quick Trip's take-home meal sweepstakes. Try our chicken, bacon, mac and cheese, spicy chicken penny, spaghetti, and more. Buy with your rewards card, and you could win $10,000. No purchase necessary. See stores for details. Dinner, fresh from our kitchen to heat and eat in yours. But let's be honest, they had me at $10K. The take-home meal sweepstakes from Quick Trip. We got dinner covered.
Well, the Packers have reportedly restructured the contract of another veteran as they try to get under the salary cap by this afternoon. Outside linebacker Zadarius Smith joins Preston Smith, Billy Turner, and Adrian Amos in restructuring their deals. The Wisconsin men's hockey team came up short in its bid for the Big Ten tournament title, losing 6-4 to Minnesota last night. They'll now await their seed in the NCAA tournament. And the Wisconsin women's hockey team going to face Ohio State tomorrow in the Frozen Four as they look for another national title. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
or whatever, they do a tremendous, high quality, I mean, rated really, really high quality business out there. That's J&L Tire. Go to jnltire.com. But a tremendous, tremendous quality business out there. They do really, really, really well. So there you go. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to chime in, feel free to do so. The Badgers getting ready to take on North Carolina. And Greg Gard talks about whether there's a benefit to the experience of his team and, in kind of the win or go home situations.
You don't play well for a stretch and it's over. You play well and there's upsets, obviously, that through the so this high stake ago. So on our run to the Big Ten championship. So it was continue to win and stay in the race. So I think the experience helps you to a degree, but then it still boils down to how you play in the upcoming 40 minutes.
The bottom line is this. They're facing North Carolina, who has played decent basketball down the stretch. Not great, but decent basketball down the stretch. But is there it's the ACC against the Big Ten and such. And, so is North Carolina a similar team to maybe a team that you faced in the Big Ten?
There's some similar tendencies and traits to teams we see in our league as well, in terms of transition, making sure we're getting guys back, making sure we're getting our defense set, and obviously the ability to minimize second chance opportunities.
So there you go. Not going to tell you who they're similar to, but Greg Gard and his crew getting ready for North Carolina coming up in the first round of the NCAA tournament and hopefully on from there. He also talks about why Roy Williams, remember, Roy Williams has never lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament. He talks about why Roy Williams has been so successful.
Well, one, he's had really good teams, whether he's been at Kansas or at North Carolina. So that's part of it. And obviously he's a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, he's been doing it for a long time and obviously had tremendous success at both places. But, I think it's a combination. I think it's obviously always having good teams, but also him doing a good job of preparing them and putting him in that position.
So there you go. Another reason why I chose North Carolina over the Badgers in the first round, because, and again, you could always look at it as, well, Roy Williams has to lose at some point, right? True. They keep saying that year after year after year, but he's 29-0 in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Greg Gard also says the tournament is about playing well for an entire game and not what you've done before.
The one thing about the tournament, it really doesn't matter what you've done prior because it's only one game. So it's not a series. And that's the thing that makes this, why that sign, that's the banner that's behind me, March Madness, because it's just the 40 minutes. So regardless of whether you come in on a roll, you come in with rhythm, high stakes, whatever that you've gone through before, it's still about the next 40 minutes. And that's really all that matters.
Greg Gard talking to the media, getting ready for the NCAA tournament. I'm excited. I certainly hope the Badgers win. I didn't pick them. I know that. I get it. I've been hearing it from a lot of Badger fans. How could you not pick them? What's funny is, where's the guy's name here? I got to find it real quick because I don't want to give credit to anybody else. Sammy May. Sammy May, he got on me yesterday and said, and I quote, "How could you go against the state of Wisconsin? Quote, you're not from here. That's the reason why. Can't believe you didn't pick the Badgers." And okay. Then I responded saying, where you're from has nothing to do with it. When you talk about putting money on the game and picking your brackets, I just picked the Badgers to get beat. I think North Carolina was on a roll. I then said to him, who did you pick? If you're going to put money on it, you and I are going to bet right now. Who do you want? And then he says to me, well, then I'm not picking the Badgers. Are you kidding me? So you rip me and basically say it's because I'm not from here, but yet if you're going to put money on it, you won't pick the Badgers. So I don't know if he was just messing with me or drunk or crazy or stupid or what, but I thought it was somewhat comical. They always, the people that get pissed at you, they always throw that, oh, you're not from it. I've lived in this state since 1999. Going on 21 years, 22 years. So I've lived here in Wisconsin longer than any place I've ever lived in my life. I grew up in Cincinnati. I then moved to Columbus, Ohio. I moved back for a little while, and then I moved to Rushville, Indiana. I was there for, I don't know, like 5-6 months. But then I moved to Columbus, Ohio again, where I really got my big kind of radio thing going before I moved just outside of Cincinnati into Indiana. And I was doing some CNN stuff. And then I moved back to Cincinnati for about a year and a half, and then I moved here. So I've kind of been in different cities doing this. There you go. What else do we have here? Chris says, I'd pick the Tar Heels too. It's being a realist. What is this? This is from Arthur. Arthur says, I didn't pick the Badgers, but then again, I couldn't. This team cannot hang on to a lead. Even if they get up to a big lead in the first half, you know they're going to blow the game. Crackman says, I picked the Badgers by 2 in a close one. I'm probably going to regret it. And then there's Dell who says, I had to pick my Badgers. I'm an alumni. I can't go against them, even though in my heart I know they're going to lose. There you go. And Chris says, fans, don't forget, stands short for fanatic. You can be fanatical. Nothing wrong with that. I'm good with that. There you go. How are we looking? What else do we have here? Mark says, when the Green Bay Packers do restructure Aaron Rodgers' contract, how much do you think they do it for, and how much cap space gets freed up? Can it be anywhere between 25 and 30 million? If so, the Packers are sitting pretty. I think the Packers right now are seeing kind of what it is they want to do and how much they're going to need, which is why they're moving slow. I know it's frustrating. I get it. It's frustrating. Saul writes, I'm completely pissed off not knowing what's going on with the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers' contract. Rodgers should have restructured it by now. Who's at fault? If it's Goody for not pulling the trigger, then he needs to go. At what point, he says, can you trust this organization to spend the money in the right places at the right time and say to the fans, we are doing everything we can to win? They're always doing everything they can to win. Now it's win versus win a championship. They always want to win. You always want to be relevant. You always want to be 500 or better. Because if you get, say, 4 games below 500, if you end up with, say, a 6-10 season, fans lose interest about 3/4 of the way through the season. Suddenly tickets are available. The stadium's not completely full. They don't like that look. That really, really, really bothers them. That's the reason they fired Mike McCarthy. Remember that game against Arizona? I mean, the whole upper area was kind of empty. You don't see that at Lambeau Field. I mean, that's when they looked at this and said, look, this is really traveling in the wrong direction. Even though we're sold out technically, fans aren't coming, which means fans aren't in the pro shop, which means fans aren't buying beer. They're not buying jerseys. They're not buying pencils. They're not buying cheese heads. They're not buying programs. Fans aren't showing up. They're not paying that money to park in our parking lots. And, we're losing money. And once you start to get to a product that's starting to lose money, something's got to go. So the common denominator of what seemed to be many of the problems was Mike McCarthy. So that's the reason they cut him loose. You get a little bit of a kick. Joe Philbin gives them a little bit of excitement. Remember, they still had an outside shot at possibly getting into the playoffs, but we knew it wasn't going to happen. And then they bring in Matt LaFleur. There's a lot of anxiety and a lot of excitement. And then next thing you know, there you go. Dave said, I was at the Arizona game. Ugly, ugly, ugly. That was a game they should have won just walking on the field and throwing their helmets out there. But at that point in time, it was clear. I mean, everybody quit. They quit. That team quit on Mike McCarthy. He lost that team. And it was time. It was time. Capital Dave says, what do you think of LeBron buying the Red Sox? He didn't buy the Red Sox. He bought into the Red Sox organization. which I find funny because he's a Yankees fan. So I don't even know how Red Sox fans are going to take him. I mean, he's been a guy that's been pounding on the Boston Celtics for a long time. I mean, buying into it's called, what is it called? Fenway Properties or something like that he bought into. I don't know. It's the Red Sox ownership group, but I can't remember the name of the company, but he bought a piece of the company. He bought a piece of the company that owns the Red Sox. But he's a guy that's been time and again a proponent of wearing the New York Yankees hat. He's got to be hated in Boston, right? You would figure. When he played for Cleveland, Boston couldn't get past Cleveland to get to the finals. He beat them there, right? He was a pain in the ass for so many years. So who knows? 877-867-1670. Mark says, LeBron owning anything really doesn't trip the trigger for me. I know he's going back to Mountain Dew as well. Doesn't do it. LeBron has turned me off for so many different reasons. Go flop somewhere, LeBron, and end your career already. There you go. Not a fan of LeBron's. He is a flopper and a whiner, isn't he? That I'll give you. You got to respect his mad ball skills. That's a guy, though, that really enjoys himself. He believes he's bigger than anything. He's now wearing the LeBron 316 shirt, which is, what is that, Stone Cold Steve Austin's deal? So he's now got his own. So yeah, he's all that. LeBron loves LeBron. His whole house might be mirrors. Just check it. Somebody got to get in there and find out. Because I think if you go back, Jim Gaffigan did a terrific piece of comedy when he started talking about improving himself. When you're going to the gym and you're reading yourself magazine, when you're looking at yourself in the mirror while you work on yourself to better yourself, while you're with yourself, working out at the gym by yourself. That's kind of LeBron walking through his house, you know? That's LeBron walking through the house. I see myself while I look at myself walking through in my shoes and myself with my new Mountain Dew myself and my hat on myself. That's LeBron. Then he realizes how much he loves himself, and the only guy dancing in the mirror is him. He's dancing with himself. Beyond that, I hold it back because this could be a family show. I'm just saying. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
From the kennel to the coop, Fleet Farm has everything you need to keep your animals happy and healthy. Whether you're training your pup to sit, mastering those retrieval skills, flipping your horse for competition, keeping the backyard birds well fed, or loving your pets like family. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, I don't need it, because we have it all. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. We are glad you are here. Thanks so much for taking a listen to us on the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. We are glad you are with us. 877-867-1670. If you want to chime in, do it. Hit us up over on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, on Twitch, all the different platforms. You can pay attention to the program, as many of you watching right now are doing, and we thank you for being a part of the program so much. Awesome stuff. Hey, Brad Stevens, the Boston Celtics head coach, he didn't say he didn't want to come back. He didn't say that. Brad Stevens is from Zionsville, Indiana. And if you've ever been down towards Indianapolis as you're cruising down I-65, there's the Zionsville exit. It's just north of Indianapolis, about an hour away from Bloomington, Indiana, where Indiana University is located, IU. So he said he's flattered by being mentioned. He said it means a lot. There's a big groundswell of support there right now. It means a lot. I know I am. As he says, listen, I've got a lot of friends back there. I've got a lot of people that are really important to me there. My dad's still there. That means a lot. I won't act like it doesn't. Like I said earlier today, it's flattering. But I also realize that I'm the coach of the Celtic, and it's been an amazing opportunity and an amazing challenge every day for the last 8 years, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So he's taken the Boston Celtics to Eastern Conference Finals numerous occasions. Archie Miller gets fired. Steven said, every job has challenges. Every job has its great things. I don't really want to act like I know, and I say that to this day, obviously, I have a great affinity for that state and the basketball in that state. That place was a huge part of what drove my passion for basketball. In fact, it was the central thing. I don't know what challenges each place has because, I don't work there. But I know when you're a kid growing up in that state, basketball means a lot, and the college program in that state means a ton. And for me growing up, it was certainly IU. But hey, I think Archie is a good coach, and he did a really good job of prepping Romeo, meaning Romeo Langford, who's currently a Celtic. I thought when Romeo came in, you could tell he was advanced in a lot of ways. I know for Arch, I've known Arch for a little while. I haven't talked to him much. I think in coaching, you always recognize how hard it is to be good and how hard it is to win. He said the greatest compliment you can give somebody on a sports team is that they made everybody around them better. Steven said, I used to play with Micah in open gym, traveling across the city of Indianapolis when I was 16, 17 years old. We didn't really hardly know each other. And it was obvious then he was a guy you wanted to get to play with, because he knew how to play and he'd get everybody the ball and made them all a little bit better. He goes on and on and on. But he didn't really say he wouldn't take the job. He just said, I'm the head coach of the Boston Celtics. He's stating the obvious. Now, Rick Pitino has said his last stop is Iona, and he's not leaving Iona. Even though there was some talk about Rick Pitino possibly leaving Iona to go to Indiana. But Brad Stevens makes the most sense. Now, he's not leaving the Celtics in the middle of the season. He's just not. But if Indiana doesn't find somebody to replace Davis soon, then you could maybe tell, or Archie Miller soon, then maybe you could say that they're pining for Brad Stevens once the NBA season comes to an end. You know? Unless a coach in the NBA gets fired, it's very hard to hire a coach from the NBA to go back to college because it's the middle of the season. But we'll wait and see what happens. I think Brad Stevens would be the perfect fit in Indiana. But for the amount of money he's probably making in the NBA and the challenge of being in the NBA, you know, coaching the greatest of the greats, you know what I mean? When you're talking about the most accomplished basketball players in the world playing in the NBA, coaching for them and against them, it might not be something he wants to do. And quite frankly, he's had success in the NBA. So why would you want to leave it at this point? Other than the hometown tug of Indiana, why would you want to leave that? Why would you want to leave the NBA and the money and all of that? Because unless you win a championship, which is hard to do in college basketball, unless you win a championship, he has nowhere to go but down, right? I mean, think about it. I mean, unless you go and revitalize that program within the first 2 years and put them significantly back into the Big Ten and the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament, then you're doing what everybody else has done since Bobby Knight, and that's just treading water and waiting to be fired. And that would then be the most disappointing story. Now he's sitting on the pedestal. He's being looked at as the savior that could come back, but he's got a legitimate out. He's like, look, I'm in the NBA. I'm coaching the best of the best, and they're paying me a lot more than you can pay me. So why would he go back? The only thing he can do there is not win a championship. That's it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. It would be like, you know, Mark Murphy coming to you and wanting you to coach the Green Bay Packers. It would be a dream. But not going to happen. By the way, we were talking a little earlier that there were some rumors floating around out there that A.J. Green might end up in Green Bay. Well, that's not going to happen. He signs with the Arizona Cardinals. Just saw that come across. A.J. Green that quick. Arizona Cardinals working on a deal to sign the former Bengals wide receiver A.J. Green. So I saw that fly by. Get rid of that. Gone. So he ain't coming. 8-7. Well, you know what? And again, he's often injured. But you put him alongside DeAndre Hopkins, and if he has a good season, a healthy season with Kyler Murray, boy, they become formidable. A huge if, he is actually able to stay healthy for an entire season and even return to a semblance of form, A.J. Green can really help them down there. Can really help them down there. 877-867-1670. Mark is listening to us on the south side of Milwaukee. He writes in the email inbox, I don't think the Packers need to be concentrating on anybody on the offensive side of the football other than maybe a center. This should be all about defense. Defense wins you championships. When it comes to the Packers and the receiving core, I wouldn't think that they're poor by any stretch of the imagination. And last year, while I still thought that they could have and should have added a piece to the receiving core in the draft, they did pretty well. I mean, Devontae Adams, Equanimeous St. Brown, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You've got Devin Funchess coming back. What they do, I mean, they've got Tanyan under a second round tag, or tender, I should say. I like Robert Tanyan. You get Josiah DeGuara back. Whether or not you're still going to have Jay Sternberger, and whether or not you bring Mercedes Lewis back, we'll wait and see. I mean, he's kind of a minor cog in all of this, but he is a fan favorite, so to speak, of Aaron Rodgers. He's a big supporter of his. But do you bring back a guy like, say, Alan Lazard? Do you draft a guy or two in the draft? I would assume not, because your need is more depth on your lines and then defensive side. But I think you're okay. And you bring back one of your better receivers, your secondary receiver, in Aaron Jones. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Go ahead and hit us up. Give us a shout. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to Bill Michaels Show on the Bud Light live stream. We are glad you are with us. Thanks so much, as always. We certainly appreciate you being here. Happy St. Patrick's Day to one and all. Enjoying the day and looking for the pictures, looking for people out and about. Send us whatever you got. Send it thebillmichaels@gmail.com. thebillmichaels@gmail.com. You got some pictures, you're out and about. We want to hear where you're at. Want to hear where you're at today. Where you're enjoying this St. Patrick's Day. So you can also find us over on the live stream, on the Bud Light live stream, which is always a good place to interact. If you want to find us over on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, so many different ways to say hello. So anyway, you can. I'm just kind of reading some of the people. I shouldn't be doing this. Reading some of the people that are following on the live stream. Live stream's up and running. The TV cameras are all over the place, whether it's the dog camera or you just saw the Tiki Bar camera, the two different cameras we have set up in here in the studio. You can still go ahead and check out the show simply by subscribing on it. It's free on YouTube and on Twitch TV. Just simply follow Bill Michaels, Michaels, and you'll find us there. Good stuff. This goes under the headline of that's kind of awkward. You know, if you haven't heard already, only a few weeks after striking the deal with the Detroit Lions, it sent quarterback Jared Goff to Detroit in exchange for Matthew Stafford. So the Rams are now sending Michael Brockers, the defensive lineman, to join Jared Goff in Detroit. No big deal, right? No big deal. But Brockers, right after the quarterback swap was made, when he was still part of the Rams organization, said it's a level up, meaning that getting Matthew Stafford, we're moving up in the world. He said that following the trade. He said, man, in my heart, deeply, just understanding what Matthew Stafford brings, it's a level up over Jared Goff. It's a level up. I feel like just watching him over his career, seeing the comebacks that he's had, seeing so much of the numbers that he's had, we're just expecting that to do just, better when it comes to the Rams here. We expect that to match well with what we do. We feel like this was a move. This will be the turning point to where we can just win a big game now. Right? Okay. I get it. I think so too. Well, neither of the comments are aimed squarely at Goff. There's no escaping the underlying and overreaching tone that loudly implies and outright states that Stafford will likely get the Rams to where Goff couldn't, and that's hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. So now Brockers is off to Detroit after he's been traded, and he is now going to the Lions. So now he's going to have to face Jared Goff in the same locker room. That's under the whoops. That's where you just say, I think he's a tremendous quarterback. I hope that he can take us to the next level. I hope that, we're able to put it all together and win a championship. You kind of do it in the sense of, yeah, he's really good, but you do it in the sense of, we hope. Right? We hope that he can be this. We hope that he can be that. I've watched his career. I've really like what he's done. I'm excited about playing with him, that type of thing. But I don't think you ever indicate or allude to, he's better than what we had. Because, again, that quick, yeah, you're all of a sudden you're back in the woodshed with the dude that took you there. I do like Kinger says maybe he was playing that reverse psychology role. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. Greg says, hey, Bill, tired of hearing people asking if Rodgers is going to restructure. Yet the real question is, does Green Bay want to restructure his deal? Your thoughts? You're right. It's not about Rodgers restructuring. I mean, Rodgers can take a pay cut, but it's not about a restructure. It's whether or not Green Bay wants to restructure. No, they don't want to restructure his deal. No. But they're going to have to. Now, to what extent, that's what we're waiting to find out. But they're going to have to. But no, they don't want to. You know why? Because it's then admitting you were wrong. That's just it. Let's just call it what it is. Okay, let's put our cards on the table and stop wimping out around this thing. The bottom line is this. Aaron Rodgers beat you. He beat you. You thought he was on the decline. You looked at him after the last season with Mike McCarthy and the first season with Matt LaFleur, and you said, you know what? I don't think he has it. I can see the beginning of the end coming in Aaron Rodgers. And what he did was, right after the draft, you pissed him off. And Aaron Rodgers plays better when he's pissed off. He found peace in his life. He found a new girlfriend. He got rid of Danica Patrick. He moved on. Life is good for Aaron Rodgers. So what he did was he focused. That's it. He focused. And he said, draft Jordan Love, will you? Fine, screw you. Screw you. I'm going to make it so difficult on you to make a decision in Green Bay. To hell with you. Now, how much of that actually played into his ability to play really well this year? Or was it the second year of the offense? Or was it him and Matt LaFleur being on the same page? Whatever it was, in some way, shape, or form, it calculated into it, whether it was a lot or a little. But he had an incredible season. Will he do that again next year? Probably not. Because you don't win MVPs back to back. Okay, you usually have a little bit of a downplay in your performance, or maybe not everything goes as well as planned, because we know what kind of game the NFL is. Whether it's injuries that suddenly start to fall upon you, guys around you start to go by the wayside, your protection breaks down, players that, like, let's say Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams and a couple others go down with injury. It all happens, okay? But call it what it is. Call it what it is. The bottom line is this. Brian Gutekunst and Russ Ball and Matt LaFleur thought, we'll go ahead and draft the future. We're going to accelerate Aaron Rodgers. We're going to look at Aaron Rodgers and say, you know what? We're going to let Jordan Love play behind him for a couple of years. We looked at Jordan Love. We like Jordan Love. We think there's something there for Jordan Love that can be brought to the table in the Green Bay organization. So that way, when we guess right and old man Aaron Rodgers starts to fall by the wayside, we've got his replacement waiting in the wings, much like we did with Favre. The difference was Favre kept hinting at retirement. Rodgers has said all along, I want to play till I'm 45 and I want to be in Green Bay. So you thought, I'll be smarter than the average bear. We found our guy. So we're going to accelerate that, because if you look at his contract, that option year, that 2022 year, yeah, we can go ahead and have this guy go ahead and be the man waiting in the wings, just like Rodgers was waiting in the wings behind Favre. Oh, it's going to be great. Look at our succession plan. This is going to be the legacy builder. We are going to do the patch between Rodgers and Love. We've got it. We figured it out. And he kicked your ass. Now you got to figure out if you want to be man enough to admit he kicked your ass, or you want to hang on to something that may not or may not be there. And here's the worst part. If you cut loose the Hall of Famer and he kicks your ass again by having another great season, then you're going to look like a freaking idiot, especially if your first-round draft choice, the guy you traded up for, doesn't pan out. The guy that many thought wasn't even going to be a first-round draft choice. If he doesn't pan out and he's not a Hall of Famer, you look like a moron, because that's the guy that you hitched your legacy wagon to. That's what this is. So do they want to restructure Aaron Rodgers? No. Because then that would in essence be saying, you know what? We pushed it back. We shouldn't have done that. The timing, the understanding of what it is we were trying to do, I get, but the timing of it was bad, was wrong. That's what this is. Nothing more. Because if Aaron Rodgers was making $20 million a year, coming off of an MVP season, you wouldn't even be considering this. But because he makes a ton of money, this is where the restructure thing comes into play. Now you got to make a decision. So do you swallow your pride and say, he just came off of a Hall of Fame year. Guys are playing until they're 42, 43, 44 years old, which means we have probably 5 years left of a Hall of Famer. We can go get another quarterback eventually down the road. So you got to make a decision. Do you restructure, push all your chips to the middle of the table? Or do you say, you know what? No. This is our plan. We're sticking to it. And if you do so, you're in essence telling your fan base, we will never be all in until we get rid of the Hall of Famer, and then we'll start to financially support what's going on behind Jordan Love. And Jordan Love's first contract, because he's not really seeing a lot of playing time, you don't know what you have in the guy, it's not going to be a big second contract. But at least Jordan Love will know he's going to have the reins of the Green Bay Packers organization. So it's a cheap contract. You can put more talent around him. You can do it defensively, and maybe you catch lightning in a bottle in that second contract to where you can win another Super Bowl. That's it. That's what this is. In a nutshell. And if you don't restructure his deal and you don't go all in while you have him in your backyard, you're an idiot. Because you're telling your fan base you're not going to go all in. You're not going to support the Hall of Famer. What you're going to do is restructure and do everything you can to support the unknown. Why? That's what this is. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Glad you're here. This happy St. Patrick's Day. Want to say hi to Sam listening to us in Sussex. He's hanging out at Rumors today, getting a few cocktails there. Linda listening to us in the Dells said her and her friends took off early today. They're down at Monk's. And Jake is at, I don't even know this place. I know where Monk's is in the Dells. In Eau Claire, there's a place called Moogie's. Am I saying that right? Moogie's? I've never been to Moogie's. Moogies. Jake says he's at Moogie's hanging out. So are you coming back, going to go to Ray's and get some sandwiches? You bet. Bet your sweet ass. But Jake is at Moogie's in Eau Claire. Great stuff. Great stuff. What else do we have here for you today? This is there's a lot of stuff flying around out there. Deshaun Watson has some allegations tossed his way. He, as a matter of fact, that was just, I just saw that come across ESPN here. I've got the studio monitor up, and there's a lawsuit against him by some woman, and apparently it started out where they were saying they wanted an apology and not the money, but now they're demanding money, and Deshaun Watson has said no. Take it to court. Let's go. I want to prove my innocence. I don't know what the whole thing is over. I haven't read that far into it, but there was a lawsuit filed against Deshaun Watson. So, usually when somebody has something filed against them, they don't really speak out right away. But Deshaun Watson spoke out right away, saying, "Look, I have nothing but the utmost respect for women, and this is bogus. This is one of these somebody's trying to grab some money." He said, because originally they said wasn't said about money, and then they demanded a financial settlement. So he said, I turned that down right away because we're going to court. I want my name back. Kudos to him. Kudos to him. I mean, if you've got the money to go to court and fight that kind of stuff, do it. I've always said, if you want to scream to the mountaintops you didn't do something, you got to go to court, but it's not that easy sometimes. But usually, I've always said, usually when people scream at you about this person did this or this person did that, and then nothing happens, then usually it turns out that the person making the accusations is wrong. So just seen it happen so many times. So we'll see what comes of that. I don't know either side of the story, but I will say this, posture-wise, Deshaun Watson looks like a guy who's pissed off that he's being accused of something because he believes or it didn't happen. And I'm usually a pretty good judge of stuff like that. So we'll see. Brett says it's called Moogie's. Moogie's. Moagies. I've never been there, so I couldn't tell you. He sent me the email. It said Moogie's, Moogies. So, but it's pronounced like Moogie's or Mooglies or something like that. I have no idea. But there you go. There you go. Kinger says getting geared up for a shot and a beer, then off to bed because he has to work tonight. Kinger, you the man. You the man. 877-867-1670. If you want to chime in, feel free to do so. Who's this? This is from Jacob. Jacob says, I have Texas Tech beating Arkansas, and then Arkansas falls to Texas Tech. Therefore, Texas Tech beats Ohio State. Can't stand the Buckeyes. I'm sorry, Bill. Hey, that's okay. Look, if you got money on it and they win, good for you, man. I don't have a problem with that. It's all about the cash. I just have a lot of chalk all the way through the tournament. It was easy. Just pencil them in. No problem. I went with a lot of the favorites. But somewhere along the way, you're going to have an upset. But I don't have this tournament full of upsets, but I probably should. Just because we have seen so many in the last few years. And now that we know that teams are testing negative for COVID, and I should go ahead and post my bracket over on the Facebook fan page and put it up there. And I'll make a PDF of it and I'll post it over on Twitter as well. But so just so you know, I'm not lying about stuff. Brett says, by the way, Moogie's is on Water Street down by campus. Okay, cool. Another place I have to visit. Chris says I could go for a few Irish car bombs, but damn it, I don't think it would be a good idea. What are Irish car bombs? And I hate to say that because years ago there was the resistance, if you will. Northern and Southern Ireland were arguing, and there was a lot of bloodshed via car bombs. But what is an Irish car bomb? Other than what the obvious is, and that'd be like a mob hit. I don't know what that is. That has to do with Jameson, I'm sure, right? I'm sure that would have to do with some Jameson and a beer or something to that effect. Pint of Guinness. A pint of Guinness. All right, cool. 877-867-1670. Daniel dropped off. Daniel, I was going to get you, but you dropped off. That's okay. Oh, okay. See, there you go. I was right. You do a pint of Guinness and then a shot of half Jameson and half Bailey's dropped in. Okay. I knew it had Jameson's got to be in there, right? When you're talking anything Irish, Jameson's it. I learned that a long time ago. My grandfather used to do burger, beer, and Jameson. Burger, beer, and Jameson. Now, burger beer was Burger and Hudipole. Was Hudipole Brewing back in Cincinnati years and years and years ago. My grandfather worked there. He was one of the, I don't know how to put it. He wasn't a brewmaster, but he was a guy that he wasn't like on the assembly line or on the, he wasn't canning on the line, so to speak. My grandfather worked with the brewmasters and would come home with half barrels of beer, and then he had a refrigerator downstairs, as everybody did back then, with the tap that went through it. And you could actually tap the outside of the refrigerator. So my grandfather had that and would drink burger beer and then had a shot of Jameson with it. So there you go. Good stuff today on St. Patrick's Day. Learning a little St. Patrick's stuff. We've talked food. We've talked brew. We've talked bombs. All kinds of good stuff. And we still have another hour yet to go. Another hour yet to go in the program. Talk a little Brewers baseball when we come back. Has your optimism changed, wavered in any way, shape, or form? Also, we will continue to be on Packers Cap Watch as we're waiting to find out if the Packers are going to do anything else today during the program, that is, as far as the restructuring process goes. Bradley has a question regarding the Bears. I want to give you that one when we come back. A.J. Green now off the market. The Packers are not going to go in that direction. He goes to Arizona, apparently. So, and the Packers, in the meantime, doing everything they can not to touch Aaron Rodgers' deal. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin will practice tonight at Mackey Arena in West Lafayette. It's where they'll face North Carolina Friday in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Tar Heels coach Roy Williams enters the game having gone 29-0 in first-round games as a head coach. Wisconsin coach Greg Gard says there's a few reasons for that success.
Well, one, he's had really good teams, whether he's been at Kansas or at North Carolina. So that's part of it. And obviously, he's a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, he's been doing it for a long time and obviously had tremendous success at both places. But I think it's a combination. I think it's obviously always having good teams, but also him doing a good job of preparing them and putting him in that position.
Badgers come in having lost 6 of 8. North Carolina comes in winning 4 of 6. Tip on Friday set at 6-10. Turning the Bucks, they are in Philadelphia tonight to face the Sixers. Phillies won 6 in a row and sits atop the Eastern Conference standings. A game up on the Nets and 2.5 games up on Milwaukee. They are without MVP candidate Joel Embiid as he is out with an injury. Tip there is at 6.
Hey, honey, how was your day? Well, I brought home a delicious dinner and possibly $10K. That's $10,000. That's a good day. It's Quick Trip's take-home meal sweepstakes. Try our chicken, bacon, mac and cheese, spicy chicken penny, spaghetti, and more. Buy with your rewards card, and you could win $10,000. No purchase necessary. See stores for details. Dinner, fresh from our kitchen to heat and eat in yours. But let's be honest, they had me at $10K. The take-home meal sweepstakes from Quick Trip. We got dinner covered.
Well, the Packers have reportedly restructured the contract of another veteran as they try to get under the salary cap by this afternoon. Outside linebacker Zadarius Smith joins Preston Smith, Billy Turner, and Adrian Amos in restructuring their deals. The Wisconsin men's hockey team came up short in its bid for the Big Ten tournament title, losing 6-4 to Minnesota last night. They'll now await their seed in the NCAA tournament. And the Wisconsin women's hockey team going to face Ohio State tomorrow in the Frozen Four as they look for another national title. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
$1 million deal for AJ Green. $8 million that he is now taking to play with the Arizona Cardinals. So AJ Green off the market. The rumors about him and the Green Bay Packers don't seem to be happening, and he is now gone. In addition to that, I was reading on Twitter, Hub Arkush makes a relatively good point, and I wanted to catch this real quick. He says the Dalton signing only makes sense if at least one more quarterback move is coming. Total Foles and Dalton cap hit, it's barely more than half quality starting quarterback. So why assume that Dalton is the immediate starter over Nick Foles? I'm not sure that's the case at all. Competition is coming. Multiple bad options to choose from. So, down in Chicago, they seem to be reeling over the whole thought of Andy Dalton coming in there and being the quarterback of that team. If you're waking up today, Michael Wilbon of a PTI over there on ESPN with Tony Kornheiser. He, as a Chicago native, when finding out about this particular move and bringing Andy Dalton in as the quarterback, he had this to say. Take a listen.
I'm angry about the Bears. And I told you they were never getting Russ out of Seattle. I told you that. Because the GM isn't competent enough to do that. And they might not want to give him up anyway in Seattle. But let me just mention that Ryan Pace, the GM I'm about to attack, he chose Trubisky in the draft. He moved up to get him ahead of guys named Watson and Mahomes. Now he's choosing Dalton over Trubisky, who he drafted. Trubisky, who has a record of 29-21. For all the grief Trubisky takes as a starter, 29-21. 2 out of 3 years in the playoffs, 2 out of the last 3.
Yeah.
This is a disaster. And it doesn't mean that Dalton is the worst guy in the league. It doesn't mean that. But this franchise that's 100 years old. And they've had like 4 quarterbacks you'd want in the entire century plus of business. And this guy, Ryan Pace, should be fired if this is all he can do. And his coach, Matt Nagy, because he didn't want to coach Trubisky, he wanted to pine away for his days as an assistant in Kansas City where he had Mahomes as a redshirt. He should be fired because he doesn't want to coach Trubisky. These guys, I've been telling you this for 3 or 4 years. Yeah. They are a disaster. They have led to ruin the Chicago Bears. And the Bears aren't always great, but they're not this incompetent. This is awful.
Wow. There you go. Tell us how you really feel. Tell us how you really feel. That's Michael Wilbon talking about the brass that is the Chicago Bears. This was from Andy. Andy says, hey, Bill, have you ever seen a Packer rumor ever be truth? Example, A.J. Green today. Seems none come to fruition, just my observation. Every now and then you do. I would go back to Julius Peppers. That was relatively quiet, but Julius Peppers was a signing, you know, that you kind of heard a few rumors and innuendos about. You kind of saw it coming. So, hey, there you go. You know, every now and then. But you're right. I mean, the Packers, a very, very quiet team. And remember, nobody saw the Cardinals getting AJ or JJ Watt. Now they get AJ and JJ. They got all the J's covered. There you go. Andy Dalton going to a divisional rival. And now let me say this. Let me. Andy Dalton in the beginning of his career put up some pretty solid numbers. He looked pretty good. He looked relatively promising. He earned the title the Red Rifle, mainly because of his hair, but that was about it. Suddenly, he started to really make Cincinnati a viable franchise again. If he can recapture some of that, is he then... Ask yourself this, and Vikings fans, I know you're listening because we reach you over there in the western portion of the state. Is Andy Dalton now the second best quarterback in the division? Oh, think about that for a minute. Is Andy Dalton now the second best quarterback in the division? Or does that still remain Kirk Cousins? Think about it. Look the numbers up. Andy Dalton, is he the second best quarterback in the division? Because if you look at his numbers, over the years, it's not terrible. His best season was 2015. He had a quarterback rating of 106.2. Last year with Dallas, 87.3. Quarterback rating prior to that, 78.3 in Cincinnati, playing in only 13 games. The year before that in Cincinnati, he got banged up. He had an 89.6. Same thing with an 86.6 in 2017. But he gotten banged up. He got benched his last season in Cincinnati. But he started out 80.4, 87.4, 88.4. He went up, then in 2014, he ended up with an 83.5 quarterback rating, but was selected to the Pro Bowl as an alternate. And then it goes down. But yeah, you look at his numbers, they're not awful. You know, and you look at his touchdown over his career, he's 218 touchdowns to 126 interceptions. It's not awful. Is he now the second best quarterback in the NFC North? The second best quarterback. You look at the same numbers of, say, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, he has had a better quarterback rating throughout his career. If you go by just quarterback rating, far better. He's averaged 97.9, Andy Dalton 87.5. If you look at Kirk Cousins' touchdown to interception, He has got 190 touchdowns, 84 interceptions. As I had mentioned, 218 touchdowns, 126 interceptions. His interception rate for Andy Dalton, a little bit higher. A little bit higher. So is he the second best quarterback, or the third best quarterback? I'd still have to go with Kirk Cousins. I still have to go with Kirk Cousins being the second best quarterback in the division. Hey, Bill Michaels, I have a little job for you over here in Minnesota. They're going to move the big 40-foot purple chicken to the stadium. Do you know why? Because they're going to call Chuck and Chicken. Who else has a 40-foot purple chicken? Oh, my goodness. This one, well, Brett says happy St. Patrick's Day. Same to you, my friend. Same to you. What about the Lions and Jared Goff? People are saying, well, what is Goff? Is Goff the worst quarterback in the division? Interesting. But is Andy Dalton the second best? Now, I think it's still, if you want to look at quarterback play, I think you probably look at Rodgers, then Cousins. I might even go as far as to say Jared Goff, because he has had some success and had taken his team to a Super Bowl. But I honestly think that was more on the run game and the legs of Todd Gurley before he ended up with a knee injury, even though they never told us he had a knee injury. He clearly was hobbled when he was walking out there on the stage on opening night of Super Bowl week. But I think it was Todd Gurley and more so that defense than it was just strictly Jared Goff. But now at least you've got a couple. Matthew Stafford was always good. He just never played real well against the Packers. Never played. He was never given enough talent. Jared Goff is not. Jared Goff will be the worst quarterback in the division because he's not going to have the talent around him. I mean, that's going to be the biggest portion of the problem for him. Let's go to Daniel in Toma. Daniel, welcome to the program, man. What's going on?
Hey, they're supposed to be choking chicken, the purple chicken, and they're moving it over there. Okay. They're going to call them the choking chicken.
Okay. That's big hands.
But Reuben Sandwich is actually German.
I kind of thought so.
Because in a German restaurant right by my house, he makes a Reuben sandwich. He's from Germany.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to tell you, though, they do got a 40-foot purple chicken over there, and I said they're going to move it over there, call them the choking chicken.
The purple chicken at 40 feet. Who does that?
I don't know. It's over here in this art museum. If you ever come over to Minnesota, go across 94 to 394, you look down there, they got a big old spoon with an apple on it. They got a chicken.
I've seen a spoon with an apple, but I did not see the 40-foot chicken. That's a big chicken.
There's chicken on this side. You have to look over there. There's a chicken there.
All right. I'll look for the big, giant purple chicken next time I'm in Minnesota.
Yeah, I come over here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I get to see that. I tease these people over there because that's what they're going to be doing, moving that chicken over there.
All right. Well, if that's the big news of the
what
day.
I was going to tell you is, you know, Minnesota has a better defense. You know, everybody seems to talk about these quarterbacks. You know, Minnesota has always been a top 10 defense, and so is Chicago. But they never win because they don't have a quarterback. And why does people over here want to get a defense and get rid of Rodgers? It doesn't make sense to me. Just look at our own division. It doesn't work.
Right.
I mean, defense, it's nice to have a good defense. And I'm not saying it done. But back in the 80s, we had a great defense when we had the Mikes and all that stuff. But we never had really a quarterback. We had Lynn Dickey, which he couldn't.
Yeah, but Lynn Dickey didn't have an offensive line that protected him, and they never put it all together. He didn't have a defense that could support him for a long time either. I mean, he always had one or the other. They never had both at the same time, and Lynn Dickey was a pretty good quarterback.
I liked Lynn Dickey. I thought he actually has one record that nobody's broke so far. He still has one record on the book.
Which is?
You know what the record is?
No.
Consecutive passes.
Oh, okay.
Without anybody trying. He's got 22 in a row. No one's ever beat it. If you look it up.
Okay. I will look that up. I'll take your word for it. I mean, I'm taking your word on the giant chicken, so why not?
he had the flu that day, and he threw 22 times.
So he pulled a Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
All right, buddy, we're going to run. We're going to go to break. I appreciate it as always. Daniel and Toma listening, telling us about Reuben's, the giant chicken, and giving us Packer lore and all that kind of good stuff. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show, more about giant chickens, more about Reuben's and the history thereof right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
High fives, Wisconsin.
Gina Dello from Pella. What's the celebration?
Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin was just named NARI's Distributor of the Year.
That's a big deal.
You're not kidding, but there's more. The International Builder Show just named Pella's new Easy Slide Operator Best Window and Door Product of the Year.
Another Pella innovation that eliminates the repetitive cranking motion on casement and awning windows with an easy slide.
A real blessing for those with hand and wrist issues.
Why crank your windows when you can easy slide, right?
But there's still more.
Oh, you mean based on the 2019 Consumer Survey on leading national brands that Pella is rated #1 for highest value, highest quality.
Yes, but there's still more. Now get 5 years, no interest, plus 5 months, no first payment.
Pella now, pay later. High fives all around.
But only through March 31st. Set your free consultation today at PellaWI.com/radio or 855-PELLA-WI.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on. We are glad you are here on this St. Patrick's Day. Thanks as always. We certainly appreciate you with us. Good stuff. When you look at the Milwaukee Brewers, a lot of good talk about the Brewers minor league system right now and about what they have. I know that there was some discussion with the MLB Pipeline unveiling the preseason Brewers top 30 on Monday. You've got Garrett Mitchell, who is just raking right now for the Brewers, Bryce Terang and Hedbert Perez. But it's the three lefties of Ethan Small, Antoine Kelly, and Aaron Ashby, who could also have a fast track to the big leagues. So the Brewers are stocking up on a little bit of talent, a little bit of offensive talent anyway, right down in the minor league system. A good article that Adam McCalvey had written, or more of a maybe a mailbag type of column that he had written. So if you want to check it out, it's over on the Facebook fan page. You can see that there. And we had talked about Travis Shaw. He is set to come north with the big league crew this year. You've got obviously the Matthias and the injury is going to set him down for quite some time. You've got a shortstop battle going on right now. There's a lot of interesting sidelines, but for the most part, when it comes to the Brewers, you kind of get the sense who's really going to be there for the most part. There's not a lot of decisions to be made. Colton Wong is going to be there. That Keston Hiura is going to be over at first. Travis Shaw is going to be at third. The battle is between Orlando Arcia and Luis Urias over there at shortstop. So that's still of an area of concern. But the concern is not necessarily who your starter is. It's just that you've got good depth. Who cares? Still got Lorenzo Cain in the outfield. You got Jackie Bradley Jr. in the outfield. You got Christian Yelich in the outfield. So Avisaíl Garcia is in the outfield. You're deep in the outfield. Manny Pena is coming back from his injury, which it really wasn't much. It's just they gave him a couple days off, so he'll be back at it probably tomorrow. So good things right now for the Milwaukee Brewers. And I get a lot of questions about the Brewers, and the reason I bring it up is because, and this was from Peter. Peter says, why aren't we talking more Brewers baseball at this point? I'm excited. Well, we can, but there's not much to report. I mean, other than every now and then you get a good pitching outing, or maybe somebody gets lit up or what have you. But, hey, Clayton Kershaw got lit up the other day. And people aren't going crazy thinking Kershaw is suddenly past his prime and washed up. The same way as if somebody throws extremely well for the Brewers, I don't get crazy and think, well, this person is the next Cy Young. It's spring training. You're just trying to hit your spots. You're just trying to get a little bit of work in, and you're trying to move on. So I'm not overwhelmingly excited about individual performances and individual games right now. Tell me what kind of a spring you put together. And once the team comes north and you see a lot of the depth start to come to fruition, then I get excited. But for the last few years for the Brewers, it has not been a camp of dramatic change. It has not been a camp of a lot of, jobs up for grabs. It's just been it's not like going back in the, early 2000s when you had Braun and Hall and Corey Hart and all these different players, JJ Hardy and all these guys coming up when you knew they were on the cusp, and the team wasn't that good, and the team was looking towards the future, and you were looking for all these battles to be won. That's not what it was. So that's not what this is. So you kind of know where everybody is, and it's while it's exciting because you've got some pretty good talent on this team, it's also relatively boring because you don't have a lot to really dig into unless you're one of the people that really do enjoy looking at the minor league side of things, and then it's completely understandable because you like to know what's over the fence and what's coming up. But you hope that doesn't have to get used as of right now when it comes to the Milwaukee Brewers and the starting lineups, because that means you would have injuries most likely, or guys are just really not performing up to snuff. So that's the reason we haven't talked a ton of Brewers baseball. That's the reason. There you go. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. This is, as Patrick says, let's get Hayward and Rhodes. The defense would then win the whole damn thing. There you go. Mark says, happy St. Patrick's Day. At what point does Aaron Rodgers speak out and say that he wants more talent? He'd be willing to take a pay cut. I gotta think that behind closed doors, something's getting done. I gotta think that. I said this before. This is not an Aaron Rodgers thing at this point. This is a front office thing. This is about whether or not you believe that you made the right decision with Jordan Love or you jumped the gun. And now you've got to rethink your future and or exit strategy with Aaron Rodgers. One of the two. That's what they're going over. And you're trying to do this with as minimal disruption as possible to Aaron Rodgers' current deal. You're trying to figure out what you need and what direction you're going to go without infiltrating the kicking the can down the road philosophy of the Green Bay Packers monetarily. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. So I got to think, though, that they're going to get this done sooner rather than later. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Jeremiah asks out of the email inbox, he says, if Gutekunst does not restructure Aaron Rodgers' deal and does decide to go with Jordan Love, what then? Is Gutekunst looked at as a bad guy? He says, well, what happens if Jordan Love pans out? If Jordan Love pans out, tremendous. Then you have gotten 3 back-to-back-to-back quarterbacks, maybe not of Hall of Fame ilk. I don't want to put that out there, but then you've gotten really good quarterback play for an unheard of amount of time in the NFL. Okay? Just as easily, though, you say, what if they're wrong and he's nothing more than Mitch Trubisky? A guy with a lot of potential, and it's never realized. Then what? You know? I mean, because you can say the exact same thing in either direction. I don't know what Jordan Love's going to be. I only know what I'm told. And that he has had his moments, but for the most part, not exactly lighting the world on fire. A project. I hear that all the time. A project. He's a project. Got a lot of upside. Got a lot of raw talent there. He's a project. Well, so am I. By the way, the Saints are the team that is most interested in Richard Sherman at this point. Richard Sherman considered still to be the best corner on the market by many account and through Pro Football Focus rankings. But it looks like the Saints are that guy, are that team, I should say, that's interested in him the most. So, not the Green Bay Packers, which that would tell you that the Packers are probably going to pick him up. Scott says, I'm afraid that Council is going to burn out the bullpen without the September call-ups this year. It's certainly going to be different to manage this team in that way. That's the reason you want 7 starters deep, and that's the reason you probably want a starter or two who could be a starter or two in your bullpen, so you don't burn up your bullpen. But that's the reason that David Stearns and company, now that David Stearns has moved up, that's the reason they like pitchers with options, because then they can move them up and down in the system. If a guy gets burnt out, they use him too much, they need another arm, they can manipulate the system and bring a guy up. You know, especially if a guy starts to throw poorly, maybe he needs to go down and just get in some minor innings in the minor leagues for about 2 weeks, and then they can bring him back up. And who knows, maybe you get a plethora of guys that get some big league innings in and start to play well, and then you've got a really deep, bullpen and pitching staff once you witness what it can do. But yeah, it's something different this year it's something specifically you have to consider throughout the season. And you probably are going to see a few more games that start to get out of hand where they just let a guy stay in and get shelled. because you don't want to burn the bullpen up by July, and you certainly don't want to have them, fatigued by August if you're making any kind of a stretch run. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to chime in, feel free to go ahead and do it on this St. Patrick's Day. A lot of people out partying today. Not as many as in the past, though. Not as many people sending in things from all over where they normally do. So if you're out and about today and you want to shoot us where you're at, as many of you already have, we would appreciate it, but not as many as we normally would see on a St. Patrick's Day. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Bill Michaels Show. We continue on as we got a couple of segments before we get to the end of the program on this St. Patrick's Day. Scott, James, Patrick, Kathy, everybody out and about today, and certainly appreciate you, chiming in with us, hanging out with us today. Good stuff. As people are out and about all over the place. There's a lot more people out today than I thought there would be, put it that way. So, fun stuff. And hopefully you're enjoying yourself. Enjoy yourself safely, too, by the way. Make sure we get that out. Thank you to those of us, to those of you paying attention to us over on the Bud Light live stream. Hey, our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, our girl Gina Della from Pella, they heard from Wisconsin's chapter of NARI, the National Association of the Remodeling Industry. They named Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin the Distributor of the Year. And there's a lot more to it than that, because the International Builders Showcase named Pella's new Easy Slide operator window. You can just open that thing with a finger. Here you go. The best window and door product of 2021. And the Easy Slide they've had numerous patent awards. They had the roll screen that was just awarded last year and a year before that. Now the Easy Slide operator, another Pella innovation. And this one eliminates the cranking. Even though their cranking casement windows are fantastic, this one you just use a finger, just slide it right open. Good stuff. But the best part about it is for these terrific windows and doors that add value to your home. If you're thinking about selling your home or you just want to boost your home's value, they add value to your home exponentially. So I don't want to give you specific numbers, but it adds quite a bit to your home if you put new windows and doors. And the best part about it is 5 years, no interest. And you won't even have to open your wallet for 5 months. Think about that. That means you're not even opening your wallet until July, August. If you get them, kind of done right now. 5 months, no first payment. 5 years, no interest. That's a huge deal going on right now. Check out our friends. It's only through the end of the month, though. Check out our friends at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Go to PellaWI.com/radio. Pella, PellaWI.com/radio. Or just call them. 855-PELLA-WI. 855-PELLA-WI. Certain restrictions do apply, but see the store or call them up for all the details. Tell them we sent you too. They're real good people over there. Real good people. 877-867-1670. If you want to chime in, do it. If you got something to say today on this St. Patrick's Day, bring it, because we would love to hear from you. Today is one of those days where as the afternoon goes on, it slows down. By the way, the Raiders still attempting to trade their center, Rodney Hudson. So that's the other, we were talking about Hudson before. That was one of the things that we were discussing, was Rodney Hudson's on the open market, because Brandon says, which Hudson? Hudson is the center for the Raiders. So they're trying to trade him away. Packers, by the way, are linked to, or not linked to specifically, but David Andrews. He is from the Patriots. Now the Boston Globe reporting that the Packers are also interested in him as maybe coming in and taking over where Corey Linsley led off. And he was a guy that did not play back in 2019. because of the pulmonary embolism. But last year, injured for a couple of games, but for the most part, it's been pretty durable. And he's a veteran center, so they're talking about the possibility of him coming in. Gary says, I hate the need to go all in talk. That's all they've been doing since the Goody hire. Rodgers' contract and COVID screwed this team up. Do you think Green Bay uses the 10 picks this year in the draft? I think they trade at some point. And Gary says also look at the theatrics now just to fill the roster. Well, again, there's no guarantee with Jordan Love. If I had to say I'm going to go all in with Aaron Rodgers or I'm going to get rid of that contract and build a defense around Jordan Love, what do you think gives you the better chance of winning a Super Bowl? And the bottom line is, if you don't get to another Super Bowl and you've had Aaron Rodgers in your stable playing at this level the entire time, shame on you. Shame on you as an organization, trying to fit square pegs in round holes continuously, not going all in, always worried about saving $5, $10, $15 million over the cap so you can roll that over into the next year. For what? For what? Yeah, you want to be viable. I understand all of that. But at some point, you got to say, we're going all in. We look at all the different deals that are being made. You know, now maybe you need a quarterback to say, hey, I'm going to take a lot less so I can bring in guys around me. Maybe you need that. But I really believe that for 2, maybe 3, I think more so 2, the final 2 years of Ted Thompson's regime were wasted. The obstinance of Ted, the problems that were going on behind closed doors, whether you believe the Bleacher Report or not, where there's smoke, there's fire for something, right? For something. It seemed to be dysfunctional. And the fact that it went on that long, you know, you wasted a couple of years. Who knows where you'd be right now? Eric says defense wins championships, and sadly, Aaron Rodgers lost 4 straight NFC title games. And his only Super Bowl win, they had a great defense and 3 future GMs on Ted's staff. So you believe Gary Moore-Cap is going to get you a championship? If that's the case, then why didn't they win one in Washington years ago? Why didn't they win one then? That means the Jets are going to win a championship because the Jets have $50 million to spend. The Jaguars have $47 million to spend. The Dolphins, $30 million. The Panthers, $28 million. The Broncos, $27 million. None of these teams have a Hall of Fame quarterback on their roster. None of them do. Tell me who's going to win a championship. The Jets, Jaguars, Colts, Chargers, Dolphins, Panthers, and Broncos. Out of those teams, which all have 27 or more million under the cap, tell me which one of those teams is going to win a championship. Because I don't think it's going to be any of them. I really don't. Just because you have money doesn't make it easy to go out and win a championship. The Buccaneers, they don't have a ton of money. They got $9 million, but they re-signed Shaquille Barrett, Levante David, Rob Gronkowski. They signed Brady to an extension who took less and did not want to raise after the Super Bowl. They're keeping that band together. I think they have a more legitimate shot at winning a Super Bowl. And they got a lot of people making a lot of money. But I can point out and say, well, the money's spread around. That I'll agree with. 877-867-1670. Yeah, they showed too much loyalty to Ted Thompson in the end. Eric, you're right. Probably a year or two, you know. By the way, Gary says more cap space since Goody. Goody has done what he can, but it's still, you're really, again, this goes back to you're up against it. As your quarterback ages, you know at some point it's going to come to an end, but you're trying to predict when. But while you have a quarterback of that ilk in your stable, you don't look to the future. You don't do that. You want to obviously have somebody there that's quality if indeed your quarterback goes down with an injury, but you're not lucky like the Packers were by having Rodgers waiting in the wings. You're not lucky like the 49ers were by having Steve Young waiting in the wings. You know, it just doesn't happen. You're not lucky when Bledsoe goes down and Tom Brady's waiting in the wings. It's a rarity. You either go for it with this quarterback or you don't, or you move on. But if you're just going to say, get rid of Rodgers, put in Love, and you're going to win a championship, ain't not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. It's a quarterback-driven league. I just don't think Jordan Love is all of a sudden in 2 years going to take you to a championship. And you will have more money because some of those contracts are going to start to come due. But I think what you do is you do what you can right now. Over the next 2 to 3 years, you do what you can right now. This is me. I have a feeling, and I don't want to say this, but if I had to sit here today and make a prediction, I think you and I will be sitting here in 3 years, maybe 4, whether it's the start of the Jordan Love era or somebody else for that matter. We'll wait and see. But we'll be saying, remember back in the day when they had Aaron Rodgers and they didn't do anything? And we're going to be regretting it because then you're going to be into the beginning. You're going to be into the beginning of lackluster quarterback play. And then you're going to say, man, they got a defense. Too bad they don't have a good quarterback. Oh, my God, look at that. Look at that quarterback. He's terrible or he's average. He's not that good, but they got a good defense. You know what I mean? 877-867-1670. Now, it is a legitimate question, and Brandon asks it. Why haven't we heard from Aaron Rodgers? And do you think Aaron Rodgers would take less money if he had a more legitimate shot at a championship? That's a great question. You certainly would like if you're in negotiations, you don't do anything to screw it up. And Aaron Rodgers is probably in that ilk right now. So he's probably looking at things saying, yeah, I don't think I want to say anything right now. I want to keep everybody inside the organization happy, specifically if they're talking to his agent about a restructured deal. That's why you don't hear from him. If you don't hear anything in the next week or two, it kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit, right? Uh, 877-867-1670. We already did that years ago with Brett Favre. Did what, Scott? What did they do years ago? Go all in? They never went all in with Favre. Not at the end of Favre's career. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They did. I mean, they brought in certain players and they drafted okay, but at the end of Favre's career with Ted Thompson, nah. No, they didn't. Brett wanted other help. I mean, that was the one thing that Ron Wolf had stated was he wished he had done more. Wish he would have brought in more weapons for Favre. I mean, you know, Ron's on record as saying that. And under Mike Sherman, the biggest issue with Mike Sherman is that after a couple of years, Mike Sherman was drafting for his job. He wasn't drafting for the betterment of the team. He was drafting for his job. And it took Ted probably 3 years to get the team out of bad draft choices. And then once Ted got the Super Bowl and really molded that team and stopped going after just best available player, but tried as a general manager, if you try to fill holes rather than just draft the best available player, unless you're trading up to get bona fide talent that you know is capable, it weighs heavy on your organization. It just doesn't work out that way. Chris says Favre wanted Randy Moss and was told no. That would have put them over the top. Says they wasted his good years. They went in back-to-back Super Bowls. They didn't win the second one, more so their own fault than anything. And don't forget, they also Holmgren left. He left. Holmgren left. Then they made the choice of Ray Rhodes, and Ray Rhodes was a good coach, but not anywhere near what he needed to be a good head coach. And after an 8-8 season, they fired him and they bring in Mike Sherman. And Mike Sherman was good, but Mike Sherman, by that point, Brett had established himself, and the reign that Mike Holmgren had, the hold that Mike Holmgren had over Brett Favre was gone. And Brett was a bona fide superstar, and Mike was too nice to Brett and let Brett rule the roost. And then things just went downhill from there. And that's when Ted's first year, Ted said, I'm going to draft the best available. And the best available was a quarterback. It was a ballsy move, but he did it. Eric says, sadly, over the past 26 or so years, Green Bay should have 5, maybe 6 or more Super Bowl wins. I would say at least 2. At least 2. 2014 and this past year, both of those years should have been the Packers' years that I believe they could get wins in the Super Bowl. At least 2. The year of the NFC Championship game, that Favre's last game at Lambeau Field, just a bad decision by Favre. He looked like he didn't want to be there. He looked like he had just succumbed to the weather. He made a bad decision by locking on Donald Driver when he had Ryan Grant wide open over the middle, wasn't looking at anybody else. Boy, does that sound familiar. You know? Bad decision, locking on Devontae Adams, had Alan Lazard wide open over the middle, had room to run, chose not to do it. You know, it's not all just personnel. It is the fault of the quarterback, but certainly it would be nice to have a couple more pieces defensively for this team. We are way over time. Let's do this. We'll step away, take a quick break. Final segment of the Bill Michaels Show on this St. Patrick's Day coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
High fives, Wisconsin.
Gina Dello from Pella. What's the celebration?
Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin was just named NARI's Distributor of the Year.
That's a big deal.
You're not kidding, but there's more. The International Builder Show just named Pella's new Easy Slide Operator Best Window and Door Product of the Year.
Another Pella innovation that eliminates the repetitive cranking motion on casement and awning windows with an easy slide.
A real blessing for those with hand and wrist issues.
Why crank your windows when you can easy slide, right?
But there's still more.
Oh, you mean based on the 2019 Consumer Survey on leading national brands that Pella is rated #1 for highest value, highest quality.
Yes, but there's still more. Now get 5 years, no interest, plus 5 months, no first payment.
Pella now, pay later. High fives all around.
But only through March 31st. Set your free consultation today at PellaWI.com/radio or 855-PELLA-WI.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show is on the air. We are glad you are with us. Final segment of the program before we get out of here today. I want to say thanks to our friends at Bud Light and to all of you following us on the Bud Light live stream. Also our friends at Numel Medical as well, being a part of the program. And as always, our good friends at Scholze Family Farms Beef. Scholze Family Farms Beef. Don't forget that they're in Humbird, Wisconsin, and as the weather eventually will begin to warm up, I know we got a little bit of rain and mix and that coming through, but it is going to warm up over the weekend. If you're going to get the grill out or maybe you're going to start grilling again, guarantee your supply of fresh farm-raised beef for the summer months by purchasing a 6 or 12-month subscription during the month of March from ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. They will then send you a free pound of ground beef in every month's package. How about that, huh? They also have breakfast meats and sausages and bacon and links and a lot of that stuff available now as well, but they can ship it from their family farm to your family table in as simple as a couple of days. All you got to do is go to Scholze, 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 FamilyBeef.com, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com, and you order it, you place whatever your order is going to be. They'll pack it in dry ice. If you're a traveler, and maybe you like to go up north, you got a cabin, whatever it happens to be, just leave it packed in the box and take it with you. And when you open it up, it'll be perfect. It's packed in dry ice, good to go. Dump it there, then throw it on the grill. From their family farm to your doorstep, to your grill, to your table, and in your own grill. It's good stuff. That's ScholzeFamilyBeef.com, SCHOLZE, ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. That's ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. So Jeff Passan of ESPN, Baseball Insider, says, if I'm going to have to put my gambling hat on, he says, want to get rich? Well, this isn't the place for it, but if you happen to meander into a sports book and you need some knowledge, here's a good start. All the odds are from Caesars Sportsbook by William Hill, okay? The leader to win the Cy Young at plus 5,000. His stuff is looking really good this spring. He's barely throwing his slider. Corbin Burns has the same odds as Dustin May, who may not even make the Dodgers opening day roster. Said if you want to throw a little bit of cash down, Corbin Burns might not be a bad way to go. He's throwing the ball that well. Josh Hader as well. When you start talking about the front office executive hat, so Josh Hader's a guy to really pay attention to too. They're saying, although only if the Brewers are kind of out of it, then start looking into the trade rumors. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. Thanks to Ebo back in the studio, man. He was on the fly today and helping me out tremendously. Appreciate his help as always. Thanks to all of you for paying attention. I will see you out and about a little bit, and stay safe for God's sakes. Time for us to go. Have a good one. See you.